One day, there was a couple, husband and wife, living peacefully together. The wife was pregnant, and finally, the time came for her to give birth. She delivered a stunningly beautiful baby boy. As she began to think of a name for him, the child suddenly spoke with clarity. "My name is Anos." Yes, my friend, he named himself. But what truly shocked everyone wasn't just that. His rate of growth was absolutely unnatural. Within just a single month, his appearance had matured completely, as if he were a full-grown adult. Now, he was preparing to apply to his Magic Academy, the one that tests its students to determine who is worthy of becoming the next Demon King. At that same moment, a girl named Misha was also on her way to apply to the same academy. As she walked, someone bumped into her, causing a letter to fall from her hand. Before she could retrieve it, Anos picked it up, read her name, and handed it back to her kindly, saying, "Be more careful with your belongings next time." And then, the two of them continued on toward the school gate. From a distance, Misha's father was cheering her on, and Anos's family was cheering as well. Though their behavior seemed a little strange, their support was genuine. While Anos and Misha were talking, a boy appeared at the school gate. He began shoving them, mocking their origins, belittling them for not being from a noble bloodline. But neither Anos nor Misha paid him any attention. They simply walked past him as if he didn't exist. That only made the boy angrier. He shouted at Anos, "I'll put you in your place. How dare you walk past me without even looking?" He began conjuring flames in his palm, preparing to attack, but with a single puff of breath, Anos extinguished the fire, leaving the boy stunned. Enraged, the boy screamed again, trying to use all his magical power to kill Anos. But our hero simply raised a hand and said, "Stop shouting." The boy froze instantly, and Anos walked away without so much as a glance. They entered the academy, and the entrance tests began. First were the verbal questions, then the magical energy measurement, and finally, the duel. Anos answered all the questions flawlessly. When it came time to measure his magical power, the crystal that gauged it shattered completely. No one could believe what they were seeing. Not even you, my friend. But trust me, in time, you'll understand everything. As for Misha, her magical power also surpassed that of most other students, which impressed Anos greatly. Then came the duel. Anos would be facing none other than the same boy who had tried to provoke him at the gate. This boy had used his family's influence to force a match with Anos, thinking he could take revenge for his humiliation. With arrogance, he declared, "You dared insult a noble like me and expect to get away with it? I'll show you who I really am. I'll crush you." But Anos, bored of his yelling, attempted to silence him with a spell. It had no effect. The boy was wearing a magical armor resistant to such attacks. Thinking himself clever, he drew his sword and continued taunting our hero. Anos extinguished the fire again and said with a smirk, "You have no idea how vast the difference between us is. This duel is like a battle between an ant and an elephant. You're not even worthy of being on the same field. I won't move a single step, and if you manage to scratch me, then you win." The boy, enraged by the insult, charged at Anos. But suddenly blood began to gush from every part of his body. Not from any spell, no, just from the heartbeat of Anos. The boy was brutally beaten without a single move from Anos. He collapsed under the pressure and lost. And just like that, Anos achieved the highest scores and passed the test with ease, but his opponent's older brother had witnessed everything. Fury burned in his eyes, and he swore vengeance against Anos. The school day came to an end, and Misha had also performed well in her exams. She went outside to meet Anos and told him everything that happened. He asked about her results, and then invited her to dinner at his home. She accepted. He took her with him, and when they arrived, his mother eagerly asked about his day. Upon hearing his accomplishments, she was overjoyed. She then asked about the girl with him, and he replied, "She's my friend, don't worry." The mother nearly exploded with happiness. In just a month since your birth, you've grown, entered a magic academy, and on your first day, you bring home your bride? Incredible. She called for his father, and the two parents celebrated together. They were a little crazy, my friend. Everyone sat down, got to know Misha, and shared dinner together. The atmosphere was warm and filled with laughter. Misha loved this family. She felt comfortable, welcome, truly happy. At the end of the day, Anos offered to walk Misha home. As they walked, she began talking about her family and her sister, whom she rarely saw. But before she could finish, boom, a spatial spell suddenly trapped them, forming a magical dueling arena around them. Emerging from the darkness was the older brother, the same one who had sworn revenge earlier that day. He was shouting with excitement, thinking this was his chance to restore the family's honor. He grabbed his wounded brother by the neck and growled, "After losing to trash like that, you're no longer worthy of our noble bloodline." And with that, he hurled him aside. He then turned to Anos with burning fury and ordered his underlings to attack with magic. But imagine this, my friend. They couldn't even touch him. Anos activated his demon eyes and destroyed their spell effortlessly. He looked at them mockingly and said, "You really thought I'd fall to clowns like you? Come on, give it everything you've got. Maybe you'll join your brother soon." The older brother, now consumed with rage, gathered all his magical energy and roared, "This is Demon King class power. It will obliterate anyone in its path. Now, die and disappear." But But suddenly, boom, Ano stood there, perfectly fine, and said, "Nice power. It might affect anyone, except its owner." Then he added, "And since you've caught my interest, here, have this." With that, Anos unleashed a special spell that resurrected the younger brother. As a zombie, he infused him with even greater power than before and said, "Go get your revenge, little brother." The revived younger sibling leapt at his older brother, screaming, "Why did you kill me? I'll finish you myself." The older brother tried to resist, to fight back, but he was powerless. Blinded by revenge, the younger brother attacked relentlessly. They remembered their final moments together and died side by side. But do you really think Anos would leave it at that? No, my friend. Boom. He cast a legendary resurrection spell and brought them both back to life. Naturally, everyone was shocked. They asked, "Who are you? How did you do that?" Anos simply smiled and replied calmly, "I am the founder." Then he added with confidence, "And it seems you want to hear my story, my friend. So focus, and let me tell you everything. Over 2,000 years ago, there existed a demon king who obliterated all of his enemies. He slaughtered humans, sorcerers, and spirits alike. None dared to stand in his way. He was known as the Tyrant, a title well earned, for he had grown weary of war, weary of killing, weary of battles and bloodshed. And so he forged a plan with the hero Kanon, a man whose strange sacrifice for humanity both shocked and intrigued him. Though he had once isolated the kingdoms, Anos finally understood his intent and said to him, "If we ever meet again in another time, we shall be friends." And indeed, 2,000 years later, that very king was reborn, but into a world where war no longer existed. Yes, my friend, Anos was born once more, carrying the same traits, the same overwhelming power he once held. However, his magical energy had yet to reach even 1% of what it once was, and for that reason, he chose to remain in hiding, for now, avoiding unnecessary conflict. In the present day, Anos headed to class alongside Misha, where they awaited the instructor's arrival. She soon entered and began explaining the fundamentals of magical circles, then displayed one before the students and said, "Whoever can replicate this circle shall be acknowledged." Anos, having grown tired of this nonsense, said, "And what if I point out a flaw in it? What would you do then?" The instructor scoffed and mocked him, saying, "You think a mere commoner like you could even understand it? Go ahead, show us your skills." Anos calmly approached, replicated the circle with ease, and even enhanced its magical integrity. Everyone stood in disbelief. Even the instructor couldn't believe her eyes. After verifying his work, she simply told him to return to his seat. He complied without a word. Then came the announcement. The commencement of epic combat trials, where each team needed a leader. A girl stood up confidently and introduced herself. "I am the leader. My name is Sasha Necron." Anos, upon hearing that name, was visibly surprised. It was the same family name as Misha's. He asked her and she confirmed, "Yes, she is my twin sister, the one I mentioned yesterday, though we're not particularly close." Anos replied, "Very well." He then turned to the instructor and declared, "I too shall be the leader of my team." The instructor agreed, but no one volunteered to join Anos except Misha. Sasha, irritated by her sister's selection, approached Anos and attempted to recruit him to her team instead. Then, in front of everyone, she lashed out at her sister. "What you don't know is, she's a magical doll. Yes, a mere puppet, useless and destined to lose you the match." Anos glared at her coldly and responded, "Even if she were a doll, what concern is that of yours? Get out of my sight before I make an example of you." Furious, Sasha activated her demonic eye, shouting, "I'll show you who I really am." But Anos too activated his own demonic eye and crushed her power in an instant. "Know your place, girl." He turned and walked away. The students were left speechless. Sasha, the class star, had just been humiliated by an ordinary boy, one not even of noble blood. The school day ended. As Anos and Misha were heading home, Sasha appeared at the gate. She said, "You've caught my attention. Let's duel. If you win, I'll join your team and serve under you. But if I win, you'll join mine and follow my every command." Anos replied with calm confidence, "Agreed, just don't come crying later." "Deal," she answered. The match was set. Both teams gathered in the forest and confirmed the rules. Each team would build a fortress, and the first to destroy the opposing team's fortress would be the winner. Sasha and her team began constructing their pristine white fortress, pouring their efforts into its design and defense. Meanwhile, Misha crafted the main fortress and placed 3 decoys to confuse the enemy about which was real. Sasha, on the other hand, fortified her fortress with magical barriers, hoping to block Anos from direct entry. But as her team discussed strategies, Anos appeared, right in the middle of the field, walking forward with unshaken confidence, as though the barriers were meaningless. "Does this idiot really think he can walk through the barrier?" one of them whispered. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. Anos, demon king of tyranny. Without pause, he grabbed the magical barrier, shattered it with his hand, lifted the entire fortress effortlessly with one arm, spun it in the air, and hurled it away, destroying it completely. Sasha and her team were stunned. What is this overwhelming overwhelming power. Are we about to lose? Sasha shouted. There's only one option left. The legendary magic cannon. Nothing can withstand it. But we've never succeeded in activating it before, someone warned. This time we will. Trust me, she insisted. They gathered all their magical energy into the weapon. Sasha focused hers into her eye and launched a devastating magical blast, one that bent the very fabric of nature and aimed straight at Anos. He smiled. Impressive. Now, try this. With a mere flick of his finger, he obliterated everything. The blast, the barriers, the remaining fortresses. Nothing remained. He walked up to Sasha and asked, "Still want more?" She gasped, exhausted. "No, I lost." Misha ran to her sister in concern, but Sasha pushed her away. She then looked to Anos and said, "Fine, we're part of your team now, but don't think you're better than me just because you won today. Tomorrow my power will grow. Once I fully master my eye, I will defeat you." Anos smiled. "Sounds good. In fact, I like your eye. I'd love to see how much stronger it becomes." Sasha's face turned red, her cheeks flushed. She seemed to be falling for him. Later that evening, they returned home. Anos's mother could hardly believe it. "So, yesterday you brought home a bride, and today another one? Your father couldn't even pull that off." They sat together, ate dinner, and the mood was joyful and full of laughter. At the end of the day, Sasha reconciled with her sister Misha, and the two returned home together. Anos escorted them, and both girls were glowing with happiness. The next morning, they returned to school. Today's lesson was to explore the Demon King's castle. But before the class began, one of the 7 generals entered the room. His name was Melheis. The instructor quickly warned Anos, "Do not cause any trouble with Melheis. He does not tolerate foolishness." Anos replied, "Understood." Melheis entered, greeting the students. "Greetings everyone," but Anos responded directly, "How are you? It's been a while." The instructor nearly fainted in panic, immediately apologizing. But Melheis ignored her and asked, "What do you mean?" Anos said, "You don't recognize me?" He stepped forward, touched Melheis's head, and cast a spell. "Your memory's been erased, hasn't it?" He then released him and returned to his seat. Melheis felt something strange about Anos, but resumed teaching. He introduced the class to a special kind of magic. After the lesson, Anos approached him and asked, "How could you forget your master's name?" Melheis replied, "Something happened 2,000 years ago. I lost my memories. Today, I know only one demon king, Avos Dilhevia." Anos understood. The truth had been tampered with. History had been rewritten. He said, "Very well, Melheis. We'll continue this conversation later." And indeed, the instructor arrived and presented Anos with the leadership badge. A new mission had been entrusted to him inside the demon castle. He immediately gathered his team, Misha and Sasha, and together they stood before the castle gates. There, the instructor was waiting to explain the mission details. She said the castle was filled with treasures and weapons, something out of a dream, and that everything they found inside would carry great value and earn them the highest grades. Yet the most precious item in the castle was the Demon King's scepter, whose location had remained a mystery to all. Everyone grew excited at her words and rushed inside to gather what they could. Everyone except Anos, who stood still, completely calm. With unwavering confidence, he said, "This castle is mine to begin with. Follow me." No sooner had he spoken than someone stopped him. "Where are you going? We've hit a dead end." But Anos instantly broke through it and declared, "This is the secret path to the chamber of the scepter and the treasures." They followed him without hesitation, walking behind him through a green garden so beautiful it pleased the eye, prompting one of them to ask, "How does sunlight even reach here?" But there was no time to stop. Finally, they reached a door, opened it, and there stood the scepter, towering and proud before their eyes. Afterward, Anos took Misha aside and entered a private treasure chamber with her. She had earlier told him she wanted to get a gift for her sister Sasha's birthday, which was the very next day. She found an enchanted, legendary fire dress, took it at once, and went to surprise Sasha with it. Sasha was thrilled and overjoyed. As for Anos, he let her take whatever she wished and entered another room to search for something else. But when he came out, he found Sasha had stabbed Misha in the chest. She was on the brink of death, and Sasha was laughing. It was clear she wasn't in her right mind. She looked at Anos and said, "She deserves this. That doll must die by my hands. And now that I have the scepter, leave immediately, or you'll all die in moments." As she tried to leave, Anos stopped her. "Leaving this easily? Stay right where you are." Sasha threatened him. "If you don't let me go now, not only will you die, but you won't even make it in time to save her." He replied, "Die? I healed her the moment I saw what happened. Now tell me, why did you do this?" He knocked her to the ground and Sasha fell. Misha regained consciousness and unexpectedly approached her sister to see what was wrong. But Sasha lashed out at them, grabbed the scepter, and ran out. Anos turned to Misha and asked her to explain what was happening. She began to tell the full story so that no misunderstanding would remain. Sasha never had a sister. Melheis had performed a cloning spell, creating a duplicate of her. I am that duplicate. I lived in a different body, led a different life, grew stronger, but we were destined to die at the age of 15 and merge into one being, one with extraordinary abilities. I always knew this day would come, that I'd vanish from this world. But during the little time I had, I only wanted to make friends. Everyone avoided me once they learned what I truly was. No one accepted my friendship except you, Anos. In those days, you made me live everything I ever wished for. So thank you. But it's only a matter of hours now before I disappear. Don't be sad. Just let it happen. Anos was moved by her words. He hugged her tightly and said, "In my life, there are only two words I've never accepted: weakness and regret. As long as I'm with you, don't be afraid of anything. Now come, let's catch up to Sasha before she gets away." They reached her quickly, and Sasha was surprised at how fast they arrived. Anos spoke. "I want the full truth. Why did you do this?" "Your sister was about to die," Sasha replied. "I won't tell you anything, but if you can break the spell, I'll reveal everything." She threw the scepter aside and began to sing. She spun through the room, performing a powerful enchantment that stunned Anos with its brilliance and precision. When she finished, Misha was standing on the other side. In that moment, Anos understood everything. Yes, he realized that Sasha loved her sister more than anything in the world. She had done everything to make her hate her because the spell required one condition: the other body must be seen as the original, and the fusion would occur in that body. Sasha wanted her beloved sister to be the original, so she herself would vanish from existence. But for that to work, Misha had to hate her. That's why Sasha insulted her, humiliated her, pushed her away, day after day, just to make her hate her and ensure her survival. Sasha completed her spell, joyful and broken at once, thinking this was their final goodbye. But the spell failed, because Misha, despite it all, still loved her only sister. She said, "Even after everything, I know exactly what's in your heart. I'm not angry with you." Sasha broke down in tears. "Why? I decided to die and let you live," Misha answered. "Because you mean more to me than anything. I won't let you die." They embraced in an emotional scene while Anos stood silently, watching. Then suddenly he said, "Who said either of you has to disappear? I won't allow it." Sasha cried out, "That's impossible. How can you separate a spell that's lasted over 14 years? You can't." Anos replied, "If it's a matter of time, I'll rewrite it. You were originally two separate bodies. To restore that, I'll perform a spell that separates the clone from the real body and returns everything to how it was." The two girls felt a surge of hope and asked, "What should we do?" He answered, "Just look into my eyes and leave the rest to me." He stepped closer and began to chant a tremendous spell, but suddenly, Melheis appeared and stabbed Anos in the heart with a sword, thinking he had ended him. He laughed, certain he had won. But against Anos, the Demon King, Anos stood back up, pulled the sword from his heart, tossed it aside, hurled Melheis against the wall, and said, "You thought you could kill me by piercing my heart? How foolish." Then he activated his spell. Time stopped, and he traveled back to the past, intent on rewriting history. But the spirit of time appeared to punish him, declaring, "The punishment for tampering with time is death." It extended its hand and revived Melheis, granting him the power of time. The spirit shouted, "Go forth, Melheis!" Melheis grew stronger and attacked Anos recklessly, but Anos cast a protective shield and blocked it. Just when Melheis thought he had the upper hand, Anos struck again and defeated him. Melheis vanished, thinking he had won, but Anos appeared behind him and said, "You thought you killed me? That was death? Then now, you die." Melheis activated a massive enchantment and froze time completely. Even the two girls were suspended, but he didn't know. Anos doesn't stop at time. He transcends it. Anos said, "You thought I'd stand still? Are you the fool here?" He cast a spell on Melheis and humiliated him. Then, using his power, he broke the curse on the two girls, took them back to the past, separated their bodies, and restored everything to its rightful state. As for Melheis, he watched the plan he had crafted for over 2,000 years collapse entirely. Realizing he had lost everything, he tried to escape, but Anos unleashed a surge of immense power, drew his demonic sword, struck Melheis across the face and roared, "Where do you think you're going?" The blow echoed through the chamber, and everything came to an end. After that, Anos returned to the natural world and used a drop of his own blood, a drop powerful enough to summon Misa once more, but this time, as his servant. He questioned her about everything that had transpired, and discovered that someone had been manipulating his magical karma, the very person responsible for executing this entire scheme. Apparently, this same individual had erased the name of the Demon King Anos from history and replaced it with Avos Dilhevia. At that moment, Anos simply said, "Very well." Just then, the girls returned. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw him alive and unharmed. Tears of joy streamed down their faces, unable to grasp that the nightmare of 15 years had finally ended. Their happiness was indescribable. Even Anos himself was deeply moved. He gave Misha a present and gently said, "Happy birthday." She smiled brightly and thanked him, and Sasha expressed her gratitude as well. The atmosphere was filled with joy and warmth. The next day, everyone headed back to school for the weapon evaluation. Anos's team was supposed to have secured the scepter, which meant they deserved a full score of 100%. However, the school informed them that the scepter had been stolen prior to evaluation, so they would only receive a score of 70. Upon hearing this, Sasha lost her temper and exclaimed, "We're not the ones at fault. You're the ones who lost the scepter. We deserve full marks. Or is it because our team leader isn't of noble blood?" But the school refused to respond, and the students were mocked and humiliated by their peers. At that point, a girl named Misa stood up in their defense. "This school thrives on class discrimination. Wake up and see it for what it is," she shouted. But her words were met with laughter, and even more ridicule. One student in particular sneered, "Seems like they stole the weapon just to avoid failing the test." Anos, calm and collected, replied, "Is that so?" He then walked toward the boy, activated his demonic eye, and said, "As for the scepter, it's right here." He extracted the scepter from within the student's body, right before everyone's eyes, and handed it to the faculty. "Next time, if you want to hide something, pick a place I can't reach," he said, before walking away. The entire school was stunned into silence, and even the teacher could do nothing but immediately start the next lesson. Swordsmanship. Before the lesson began, Anos was standing with the girls chatting, when Misa entered to thank him. "I don't know how to thank you. You exposed the truth, and I truly admire you. Your way of thinking, your strength. I am certain that you are the real Demon King." Anos blinked, surprised. "Huh? What makes you say that?" Misa then took them to their secret base and revealed everything. The place was known as the Anos Fan Union, a gathering of students who considered him their rightful king, no matter what the world said. She led him upstairs and showed him a broken half of a sword. It was a gift from her father, a noble demon who had abandoned them because he had fallen in love with a spirit. Her mother was not of pure demon lineage, and ever since then, he vanished without a trace. Because of her mixed blood, Misa was treated as an outcast at school, just like many others. That's why she pleaded, "Please, let us join your team. Let us stand under your banner." Anos admired their resolve and said, "Very well, but you must prove to me that you're worthy to stand by my side." They all agreed enthusiastically, their spirits burning with determination. Swordsmanship class began. Each student was tasked with pulling a sword from the earth, swords infused with powerful energy that only those with advanced swordsmanship could lift. Misha and Sasha struggled, unable to move a thing. Anos simply laughed at them. Sasha snapped, "What are you laughing at? You haven't pulled anything out either." He smirked. "You think I'm the one who should walk to the sword? Come, watch this." And just like that, the sword emerged from the ground on its own and flew into Anos's hand. The students and teachers stood in shock at his power. At that same moment, another student, Ray, succeeded in drawing his own sword as well. The instructors approached to evaluate their skills, but before they could proceed, Anos and Ray easily defeated the magical emperors who had been observing them from afar. Afterward, they exchanged names, sensing an unspoken rivalry between them. Ray, instead of joining the team of nobles, walked straight up to Anos and declared, "I want to be on your team. I want to be one of you." The entire school was stunned. "You want to join a team without noble blood? Have you forgotten your noble heritage?" they asked. But Ray responded, "If Anos isn't noble, then no one in this school deserves to be called noble. My decision is final." Anos smiled at his words but added, "If you wish to join me, you must prove your spirit. Tomorrow morning, you and Misa's team will face me in battle. Show me what you've got." Morning arrived. Everyone split into teams and began fortifying their castles. Anos used teleportation magic and appeared directly before Ray to confront him. Sasha attacked the girls with a massive stone golem. The battle had begun, but Anos said to Ray, "Those girls wouldn't have summoned that golem without your help. You must have provided them with your magical energy." Then he added, "Very well, since you've lowered your power, I'll fight you with this," picking up a tree branch from the ground. Ray felt insulted. The duel began. Their strikes so powerful they split the ground beneath them. Meanwhile, the girls united and launched a magical cannon, destroying the golem. Believing they had won, they celebrated. But the fight was far from over. Suddenly, Misa appeared behind Sasha and struck her down, nearly defeating her. Ray advanced to end it, and the golem, along with the girls inside, regained consciousness. It looked like they were heading for defeat. But imagine losing? In your dreams, Misha rushed to her sister's side and together they unleashed a joint attack, a whirlwind of magic that shook the entire arena. The sheer force sent everyone flying, brought down the golem, and secured victory for Misha and Sasha. As for Anos and Ray, their fight continued. The battlefield had transformed into a visual spectacle. Anos attacked while Ray defended, the tree branch in his hand, now a weapon capable of crushing tanks. Both were thoroughly enjoying the battle, pushing each other to their limits. In the end, Anos emerged victorious, and Ray's team was declared defeated. Despite the loss, Anos welcomed Ray and his allies into his team. Their joy was overwhelming. The arsenal of the Demon King had grown, and greatness awaited them. At the end of the day, Anos took them all home. His mother was especially overjoyed. Finally, there was a boy among the guests. They celebrated together in peace and happiness. Meanwhile, Ray and Misa stepped outside to talk. She thanked him for supporting them and joining their team. He thanked her in return. grateful she had accepted him as their leader. The atmosphere was perfect. After that, Rei asked Misa about her origins, only to discover that she was half spirit, half demon. He was deeply surprised and said to her, "How are you able to maintain your energy like this, despite being half spirit?" But Misa didn't quite understand what he meant, so he told her, "No worries, just take care of yourself," and walked away. It was clear he meant something more by those words. The next day, their teacher announced the start of the Magic Sword Tournament and informed the class that 2 students would be selected to participate. The first was Rei, the unrivaled genius of the blade, and the second was Anos. She added, "Bring us victory, Rei. Make us proud." Anos barely showed any interest in the teacher's words, but he sensed something suspicious. Why would the school choose someone unqualified and of non-noble blood to participate in such a prestigious tournament? And why, out of all people, did they choose him, the very student who'd given them a hard time before? Meanwhile, Anos discovered the location of one of his former generals, named Ivis. Upon seeing him, Ivis collapsed to the ground, weeping with joy. "I can't believe you're alive again, my lord. You've done what no one else dared to do." Anos interrupted him, saying, "Forget the tears and get to the point. How do you still remember me?" Ivis replied, "After you allowed the hero to kill you and erected the barrier between demons and the other races, I was outside the demon kingdom, wandering. Because of the barrier you created, I was trapped in that forest for 100 years. After the century passed, I had to sacrifice a large portion of my magical energy to cross the barrier and return. But when I got back, I found that history had changed. Your name had been forgotten, and everyone believed Avos Dilhavia was the true demon king." Anos said, "All right, I've been asked to take part in the sword tournament. Do you know anything about it?" Ivis answered, "Honestly, no, but I advise against participating. It could very well be a trap." Anos sensed the warning and asked Ivis to gather more information. Then he rushed home, where he found Misha waiting with a meal she had prepared. She seemed to have started recognizing him as her husband. Even Anos's mother was overjoyed that Misha had made the food. The atmosphere was warm and cheerful. As for his father, he had already left to forge a special sword for Anos, before even knowing his son would enter the tournament. Incredible. Judging by his mother's expression, it was clear she already believed Anos would compete. The next day, Anos took Misha out for a stroll to thank her for the delicious meal. Misha walked beside him, beaming with joy. They entered a small shop and Misha said, "This place is called the Treasure of Memories. Here, finely crafted artistic pieces are sold for an incredible amount of money." She even pulled out a miniature replica of the dinner table they sat at last night, clearly thrilled. The shop owner was impressed and said, "Your latest piece will sell for a great price. Please keep making beautiful works like this." But Anos turned to Misha and said, "How about I give you a piece of art no one could ever replicate?" She smiled and said, "Go ahead, my love." Anos focused his magic and crafted a tiny replica of the entire city, perfectly detailed and no larger than a small ball. The shopkeeper was shocked. "I'll buy it. Take the whole shop. Just sell it to me." But Anos refused and left with Misha. He then turned the miniature into a ring, slipped it onto her finger and said, "This is my gift to you for that delicious meal. And if you ever want to see the city again, just look through it." Misha was overjoyed with the gift. They later went to a restaurant, where Ivis appeared in disguise as a cat, and informed Anos of the information he had gathered. He confirmed that Avos Dilavia was indeed participating, and warned him again that this could be a trap. Anos took the warning seriously. He and Misha then went to the hospital and found Rei there. When asked why he was visiting, Rei said, "It's nothing. My mother is sick, and I came to see her." Anos replied, "If she's unable to move, let me help. I can heal her completely." But Rei answered, "Even you can't help her, Anos." He walked away, visibly saddened. Anos sensed something strange and asked Ivis to investigate both Rei and his mother. There had to be a secret behind them. Days passed, and the tournament day arrived. Anos showed up with his mother, who was beyond proud and excited to see her son compete. His father was still working on the sword and likely wouldn't finish in time. Ivis arrived and informed Anos that Rei's mother had spirit disease. Her body was deteriorating and vanishing, and no one could save her because she was half spirit, half demon. Her end was near. As for the tournament, everything seemed to be going according to plan, but it was likely a trap. Anos understood the message and decided not to compete to avoid falling into the trap. The first battle began and Anos was supposed to fight, but he never entered the arena. Everyone started insulting him, calling him a coward who fled the battle. His mother was deeply hurt and shouted, "Anos is no coward. My son is kinder and braver than any of you, and I know he'll fight." At that moment, his father arrived, injured but carrying the sword. "Sorry I'm late," he said, "but I forged this sword with my own hands. I hope you like it." Anos was moved and told Misa, "I've decided to fight. If it's a trap, I'll smash through it. If there's an obstacle, I'll crush it. I won't back down from someone who hides his face like a coward. What I want most right now is to see the joy in my parents' eyes when I enter the arena." And so, Anos made a grand entrance and said to his opponent, "Sorry for the delay, but I'll finish you in a single minute." Everyone was stunned by his boldness, thinking he was joking. But Anos wasn't joking. He humiliated his opponent, effortlessly deflecting all his attacks, even counting the seconds mockingly. When the opponent launched his most powerful attack, Anos crushed it with ease and said, "Your time's up, my friend," before finishing him off with a single devastating strike. The crowd erupted in cheers. Girls sang his name and screamed with joy. His parents were overflowing with pride. Even the defeated opponent asked, "How did you beat me with such a weak sword?" Anos replied, "This sword was made by a great blacksmith. You can see his effort and pride in it. It's a blade forged with pure love. Naturally, it's far stronger than yours." His father overheard those words, and tears of pride welled up in his eyes. The people around them whispered, "Who is this legendary blacksmith?" As for the teacher, she was furious, because Anos had just defeated her little brother. It was clear she didn't wish him well. After the match, Anos sat down in the waiting area. Misa congratulated him on his crushing victory. Then they watched Rei take the stage and easily defeat his opponent. Rei walked into the waiting area, visibly angry. Anos asked, "What's wrong? You seem furious." But Rei didn't answer and said bluntly, "I want you to give it your all, because I've decided to kill you." Anos smirked and replied, "Perfect. Show me what you've got." Rei attacked with his sword, but Anos blocked it with his bare hand. When he struck Rei in the chest, Anos sensed something strange, and Rei quickly withdrew his blade and fled, raising Anos's suspicions. He suspected Rei was being threatened or watched, and his mother was somehow involved. Both fighters continued to win their matches until they reached the final round, scheduled for the next day. Anos left with Misha to visit the hospital where Rei's mother was. Meanwhile, Anos's mother decided to hold on to the sword to deliver it to him during the final match, knowing that a single loss would eliminate him from the tournament. Anos agreed and left a few guards with her for protection, then headed off to the hospital with Misa. When they arrived, they saw Rei's mother nearing the end. Her body was on the verge of vanishing, having reached the final stage of the spirit disease. Her form could disappear at any moment. At that time, Misa didn't understand what this illness was, so she asked Anos about it. He explained, "This disease affects souls that have lost their legacy. There is no cure for it, unless the mother awakens and regains her heritage. But right now, she isn't speaking, and it's hard to get anything from her." Suddenly, the mother's hand moved. She awoke from her coma when she heard Misa calling Anos. She looked at him and said, "Are you Rei's friend? He always came to visit me and spoke about you with great joy. He truly felt happy when you defeated him. He was always alone, unmatched in swordsmanship, but when he lost to you, he felt something different. He talked about you all night. Please stay by his side, Anos. Be his friend always." Anos was stunned by her words and asked, "How did you wake up?" She replied, "I don't know, but something about your presence, or maybe something else, brought me back." But her body seemed weak. She could barely speak. Anos quickly asked her about her legacy in hopes of healing her, but she couldn't remember anything, not even what her heritage was. After further questioning, Anos discovered that she wasn't Rei's real mother. She was half spirit, half demon, just like Misa. An idea struck him. He stepped closer and performed a dangerous spell that linked the core energies between Misa and the mother to restore her vitality. The spell was extremely risky and could kill them both. But Misa, knowing this, chose to sacrifice herself. She agreed to perform the spell, even if it cost her life. At the same time, Anos's mother was walking home with the girls when suddenly that teacher appeared. She approached Anos's mother demanding the sword. The mother refused, saying, "This is Anos's sword. I must keep it safe and give it to him tomorrow." The teacher replied, "I know, and that's why I'll take it by force and make an example out of him at school. I'll ensure he loses tomorrow." She tried to grab it, but the mother resisted. The teacher knocked her to the ground and beat her severely, breaking her legs. Then she said, "You brought this upon yourself. Since you wouldn't hand it over peacefully, I'll take it by force." She prepared to strike the final blow, but the girls intervened, using their magic to block the attack. The teacher didn't stop and kept attacking with brutality. The girls didn't give up. They were struck, burned, but stood again. The mother watched their suffering helplessly. Her legs were broken, she was collapsing, and death seemed near. The teacher raised her hand for the final strike. Boom! Anos appeared, blocking the attack. He healed his mother and thanked her for protecting the sword. Then he healed the girls too, saying, "What you've done, I'll never forget. Thank you all." Tears filled the girls' eyes in disbelief. Before the teacher could speak, Anos silenced her with magic, suspended her midair by her throat, and said, "What I hate most is someone laying a hand on my family, and for that, you must face the full punishment." He teleported her to the arena and began lashing her. She tried to resist, but it was over. Anos showed no mercy. Meanwhile, Misa was still with the mother when Rei arrived. Seeing her standing there, he grew suspicious and raised a dagger to her neck. She quickly explained everything without mentioning Anos and said, "I'm sharing my legacy with her. It's almost complete." But Rei struck her, knocking her unconscious, saying, "If you'd continued, you would have died. Thank you for everything." He then sat by his mother, shocked to hear her speak. She thanked him for all he had done. Rei couldn't believe it. He asked, How are you talking? What happened? She replied, I want you to leave me and live your life. Smile again. She recalled the past, how she had found and raised him. Life with you gave me all I ever wanted. Take care of yourself. Don't worry about me. Rei listened, filled with sorrow. Afterward, he left to prepare for the match. Anos arrived at the scene after Rei had left. He saw Misa unconscious and realized there was little hope of saving her today. As dawn broke, Anos and Rei prepared for their duel. The air was filled with excitement. It was a decisive battle. Anos and Rei entered the arena, greeted each other, and began fighting. But suddenly, Anos heard a voice in his head. The bracelet on your arm is draining your magic until you die. As for Rei, his heart is sealed. If he loses, he'll be executed, and his mother humiliated. You have two choices: forfeit and run, or fight your friend and watch him die. Choose, hero. Anos realized the danger and said, all right. The fight began. Their strikes were incredibly fast. The crowd watched in awe. Rei said, I know you're in trouble. Your bracelet is different from mine. It's devouring your energy. The nobles asked me to prolong the fight and kill you once you're drained. But I won't do it. Yes, my mother may die. I may die too. But I won't sacrifice you, my friend. Then he stabbed himself, breaking the seal on his heart. I have less than an hour to live. Let's fight seriously and see who's stronger, my friend. Anos was moved. Well done. That's what I expected from you. Forget everything. Focus on the fight. I'll give you the thrill you deserve. The real battle began. Strikes flew from all directions. Rei was enjoying himself. He even managed to wound Anos's arm. Anos struck back. The clash continued until both were exhausted. Rei could barely stand. He said, shall we end this? Anos nodded. Agreed. They charged at each other. Everyone waited for the result. Rei managed to slice Anos's arm, but his own sword shattered. Anos had won. Rei was presumed dead. But then, the ground shifted beneath him. He was transported to a strange place, where the owl transformed into Ibis. Ibis sneered. Finally, you've come so I can kill you. At last, I'll have the chance to destroy you. Anos replied, who do you think you are? You really believe you can do anything? Ibis said, haven't you realized? Over 90% of your magic has been drained. You've already been sentenced to death, Anos. He opened a portal and summoned two demons to finish the job, but suddenly, their heads were severed. It was Rei. He had regained consciousness. It turned out everything was part of Anos and Rei's plan. Anos's strike wasn't fatal. It was to destroy Rei's bracelet and save him. Ibis smirked. I knew you'd do that. Don't worry, I came prepared. He revealed Rei's mother bound and threatened, if you won't kill him, I'll kill your mother right now. Anos and Rei dashed forward to save her. That was exactly what Ibis wanted. As Rei entered the dimension, Ibis unleashed black magic and destructive storms. He followed them inside. Inside, Anos and Rei fought together. Anos was nearing his limit. His magic was almost gone. Anos spoke to Rei telepathically. My energy's draining fast. I can only protect you for 5 minutes. I made you a sword. Fight with it. End this spell yourself. Rei used the sword, but it broke. All hope seemed lost. At that moment, Rei's mother regained her memory. She remembered she was the spirit of the sword. She transformed into her true form and told her son, I'll give you all my power. Just break through every barrier. Rei charged forward, breaking through the dimension, breaking through the magic, and struck Ibis. But her energy was fading. She said her final goodbye and vanished, wishing her son a safe future. After Anos witnessed what had happened, his excitement surged as he declared, there's no turning back now. Boom! He activated his power and transported himself to where Ibis was, trapped in the sealed world, muttering as he arrived, where are you, coward? Do you think you can run from me? I swear, I will tear you apart. Ibis responded with an immediate attack, surrounding Anos with his signature dark energy, believing he had claimed victory. But Anos shattered the assault effortlessly and said coldly, do you truly believe that pathetic bracelet of yours drained my power? Who do you think can defeat me, the Demon King himself? Boom! Anos unsheathed his sword and launched at him, while Ibis desperately retaliated with all he had. But it was already over. His fate was sealed. Anos struck a blow that severed Ibis's leg and sent him crashing to the ground. Ibis attempted a counterattack but failed, and Anos delivered a decisive strike to his head, ending the creature that had possessed him. Ibis returned to his senses, confused and unaware of who had manipulated him. Moreover, the two individuals whom Anos had previously killed, he restored them again, once he eliminated the creatures that had controlled them. Afterward, Anos turned to his side and finally saw him. Yes, it was Avos de la Via, the root of corruption, who had been pulling the strings behind his followers, clearly harboring no goodwill. But Avos retreated into the wall after his plan failed, disappearing without a trace. At that moment, Anos gripped his sword and turned back time. Everyone saw him, realizing he had won the battle, and no one could believe it. Even his father and mother were overwhelmed with joy, unsure how to express their happiness. Then Anos raised his sword to the sky and said, this sword was forged from my father. It's the reason we triumphed in this tournament. If anyone ever sees seeks a sword from this day forward. There's no need to search far. You now know the way." His father, bursting with pride, could hardly believe it, and the beauty of the moment was beyond words. At the same time, Rei had regained consciousness after the battle. He was happy they had won, yet sorrowful deep inside, for his mother had passed away. As he prepared to open his scar, Anos suddenly resurrected her and said, "Get up, man. Didn't I tell you I'd make her strong as a stallion? Did you forget who I am?" Rei, overwhelmed with joy, couldn't believe it and ran to embrace his mother tightly. He asked Anos, "How did you do this?" Anos replied, "It was quite simple. I only needed to understand her full lineage and heal it. When she transformed into a sword in your hand and wounded Ivis, I had everything ready to restore her. I was simply waiting for the perfect moment, and what a perfect moment it was." Upon realizing all that his friend had done, Rei thanked him with heartfelt emotion and said, "From this day on, you're my brother." Finally, as the tournament concluded, Anos was crowned champion, and Sasha came forward to present the prize, a magnificent sword unlike any other, and beside him stood Sasha herself, radiant as the moon. Anos was overjoyed, while Sasha, though shy, was stunning beyond words. The day ended, and peace reigned. But that night, as Anos slept, he had a strange dream, one from the past when he had visited the hero Kanan in the human capital to negotiate a ceasefire. At first, Kanan refused to hear him out, but Anos managed to convince him, and just as they were about to talk, boom, Jirga, Kanan's mentor, appeared, harboring a deep grudge against Anos and all demons for killing his family. Jirga furiously attacked Anos and shouted at Kanan, "Don't listen to this demon. The world will never know peace until all demons are wiped from existence." He lunged at Anos, but Anos struck him in the head and said, "Don't pretend you're the pure one. You people killed my mother when I was a child." Then he turned to Kanan and said, "If you still wish to talk, I'll be waiting in my castle," and vanished. Kanan rushed to help Jirga, but it was too late. Jirga's hatred remained unquenched, and he swore vengeance on Anos and all demons, setting into motion a future plan to annihilate them all. And now, focus. What's past is only the beginning, and what lies ahead is on a whole new level. The next day, Anos woke up and headed to class with the girls. The academy had changed drastically since Anos had destroyed it. A new instructor arrived and informed them that they were now required to participate in a joint training exercise with the human realm, specifically with the Hero Academy of Kanan. Within 3 days, they would depart, and they had to master teleportation magic within just a week. Anyone who failed wouldn't qualify for the tournament. Everyone agreed, and she began explaining the method. But as always, Anos suggested a superior approach, astonishing everyone again. With only 3 days remaining before the tournament, Anos and his team began training to surpass the Hero Academy students. Since Anos didn't need any training himself, he merely supervised, teaching them combat, weapon mastery, and all the skills they needed until the day of departure. Before leaving, Anos spoke to Ivis and asked him about the Hero Academy and what was happening there. Ivis replied, "That academy was created to house Kanan's body after his reincarnation. There are individuals claiming to be his reincarnated form, but the information is unclear. You'll need to investigate it yourself." Anos responded, "Understood," and began preparations for departure. Students from all years, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, gathered and formed strategies to reach the academy quickly, unaware that Anos didn't require any of it. Boom! In a single instant, Anos used teleportation magic and took them all there. Everyone was stunned, but to Anos, it was merely a basic ability. Since they arrived early, they decided to split up and explore the city. Each went their own way, and eventually, Anos and Sasha walked together. Sasha, deeply impressed by him, blushed in admiration, while Anos was gleaming with joy, teasing her, saying, "Your mother must be a bee, for you've brought all this sweetness, and those lovely eyes, surely they belong to a graceful gazelle." Despite her embarrassment, Sasha was delighted. They reached the academy, and just as Anos was about to open the gate, a girl named Eleanor, the deputy of the Hero Academy and host for visitors, stopped them and said, "We're not accepting guests right now due to joint training with the Demon King Academy." Anos replied, "Well, we're from that academy, and we're just here to explore, nothing more." Eleanor was surprised by their swift arrival, but welcomed them and guided them to the library, becoming their personal escort. Sasha noticed a portrait on the wall and asked Anos about it. He recognized it and said, "Yes, that's Hero Kanan. Once my arch-rival. We tried to kill each other thousands of times, but in the end, he became my friend, and I wish to see him again." They arrived at the library and Anos examined the recent historical records, discovering that Avos de Levia's influence had reached this place too. No one remembered the true name of the Demon King anymore, and history had been completely altered. Anos, who had sacrificed himself to build the barrier and end the war, was now painted as a human hero. Sasha, upon learning this, became furious, but Anos calmed her, saying, "It's only natural for them to rewrite history to make it it easier to accept. After all, do they truly want to admit that it was the Demon King who saved them? Anos then asked Eleanor about Kanon's reincarnation and his whereabouts. She answered, he has 4 incarnations, each possessing a portion of his power. 2 of them are on the 2nd floor of the library. But before they could continue, one of the incarnations appeared, wearing glasses, arrogant beyond reason, acting as though no one on earth was his equal. Then came the 2nd, impulsive, overconfident, mocking the Demon King Academy and saying, "You're nothing but weak demons." But Anos turned to Eleanor and asked, "Where are the incarnations?" "I don't see them. These are fakes." One of them snapped and attacked, yelling, "I'll show you who's fake, you failure." Boom. With a single glance, Anos turned him to ash. The other tried to intervene, but his partner stopped him, saying, "You've lost. Don't embarrass us further." Realizing the truth of his inferiority, the attacker backed off. Later, Anos stepped outside to speak with Eleanor. "Since I haven't found what I came for, I'll take my leave," he said. But she stopped him and asked, "Why are you searching for Kanon?" Anos replied, "I made him a promise 2,000 years ago. I've come to fulfill it." She said, "There's no need to search. Kanon is dead. He won't be reincarnated again because the one who killed him wasn't a demon. It was a mere human." Anos paused, nodded, and walked away, sensing she was hiding something. A week had passed, and all the students had finally arrived at the academy grounds. But when they saw Anos and his team already there, they couldn't believe their eyes. They had been completely convinced that they were ahead. One student asked the teacher in disbelief, "How long have they been here?" She replied, "They arrived a week ago, the very moment I told you all to set out. But don't dwell on it. Not everyone is the same." As they talked, a boy named Revisto appeared. He was the highest-ranking student in the 3rd year. He approached Anos and said provocatively, "I don't understand how you got here before me. It took me 2 full days. But no matter, the truth will soon come out, and we'll see what trick you pulled." Anos had no desire to argue. He simply replied, "Very well," and walked away. At last, all the students gathered for the opening ceremony and orientation event. A distinguished man stepped onto the stage. It was the director of Hero Academy, who looked extremely proud of his students. He presented before everyone the first incarnation of the hero Kanon and showcased his extraordinary skills. The incarnation used his magic to restore an old battered sword and made it look brand new. Then, with impeccable precision, he struck a target and destroyed it completely, astonishing the audience. But Demon King Academy wouldn't just stand by. In response, they brought out Revisto, asking him to use his magic to transform a tiny mouse into a giant beast. But no matter how hard he tried, nothing happened. All the students saw it with their own eyes and they began laughing and mocking him. But would Anos let him be humiliated like that? Never, my friend. He stood up suddenly, pointed at the mouse, and with a snap of his fingers, boom, the mouse turned into a giant. Then he turned to Revisto and said, "You placed a barrier on your spell when you reforged the sword, thinking that makes you powerful or skilled. But in truth, all you have is emptiness. As for that sword you made, allow me to show you what a real sword is." And boom. Anos forged a radiant holy sword, one that dazzled everyone with its brilliance and power. Even Ego, the head of the school, couldn't believe his eyes. In that moment, Anos restored the honor of the Demon King Academy. The tension began to settle down, but Revisto, who had just been humiliated, only grew more enraged, as if he had no intention of letting this slide. Later, Anos returned to his room to receive the information he had requested from Ivis. He asked if Kanon had truly been killed by a human, but Ivis denied it, saying he had searched every historical record and found no proof to support that claim. He added, "But I did find something strange. While searching for information about the hero Kanon, I found a legend that says, when darkness returns to the land and murder rises once more, you must place your trust in him. Yes, he will return and protect you again." It seems that by darkness, they meant you, my lord, Anos. And by light, they meant the hero Kanon. Anos began to sense that Eleanor was hiding something. So, he told Ivis, "Understood." That evening, he went out for a walk with the girls. The mood was wonderful. Meanwhile, Ray and Misa were walking together as well. Ray thanked her for sacrificing herself for his mother before. She replied, "No need. Don't trouble yourself over it." They kept strolling and laughing the night away, and eventually, Ray took out a necklace and placed it gently around her neck. She was filled with joy, utterly delighted. "Seems like the bait has caught something, my friend." The next morning, the girls started asking Misa about the necklace and about Ray, teasing her, "Don't forget to invite us to the wedding." At last, everyone arrived at the lake, where a new challenge would begin between the two schools. The castle trial, Hero Academy versus Demon King Academy. Who will win? The 4 incarnations were brimming with confidence, thinking they could easily defeat Anos and his team. But Anos, ever ready, said, "Let's go turn the tables." Revisto refused to participate in a team effort and told the teacher, "My companion and I will handle this challenge ourselves. We are nobles and deserve the highest merit." The teacher hesitated, unsure who to choose. That's when Anos said to her, "Don't worry, it's all right." Revisto agreed, and the battle began. The excitement was off the charts. Revisto's team started building their castle, and so did the hero team. The atmosphere was electric, but when the demon team tried to use magic to create their barrier, nothing happened. Despite repeated attempts, the spells failed. Revisto shrugged and said, "Scout the area." As they began, the 4 incarnations appeared and struck them with powerful magic, knocking them out one by one. Everyone was laughing, mocking them, completely confused as to why their magic wasn't working. That's when Anos realized the truth. The lake water wasn't normal, it was infused with holy water, which meant that demon energy was sealed when used. The hero team foolishly took advantage of this and launched a reckless attack. Revisto's team, unable to defend themselves, was utterly crushed in shame. From afar, Ego watched in cruel satisfaction, humiliating the teacher, who now feared for her students. She begged him to stop the challenge, but he refused, saying, "The test has only just begun. We haven't even started." Ano stood up and said, "Don't worry." He used his power to retrieve the team from the water, but they were in terrible condition, wounded, broken, utterly defeated. Ego was pleased, and when the teacher tried to heal them with magic, the holy water made it nearly impossible. Anos approached Revisto to heal him, but Revisto refused at first and apologized for not listening. He said, "I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but please, avenge me. I want revenge." Anos smiled and told him, "Don't worry, justice will be served." Then he healed his body and called his team together. They were ready for battle. Though the lake still held holy water, the hero team thought victory was guaranteed and continued to mock them. But Anos, calm and confident, flew above the lake and said, "All right then. It's time." He unleashed a massive fire spell that incinerated the lake's surface. The holy water evaporated completely. Everyone was stunned. Ego was on the verge of collapse from the shock. Then Anos turned to his team and shouted, "Let's begin the second round." The heroes rushed to the ground, fired up and ready. The real battle began. Each team took position, and the hero team quickly built their fortress, along with barriers that empowered their allies and weakened demons who entered. A 4th member joined them, Zisha, the strongest incarnation of the hero Kanon. At that moment, Misha asked Anos, "What should we do?" Anos went straight into action. He launched a supernatural blast toward the hero fortress, but Zesha intercepted it at insane speed, with savage force. It seemed they were in for real trouble, so Anos and his team formed a counterplan. He and Misha entered the barrier to construct their own castle. Misha was weakening under the barrier's energy, but Anos said, "Build the castle. I'll protect you here. Don't worry." When the other team saw Anos's confidence, they attacked him with all they had. But Anos unleashed his power. Boom! Everyone flew back and crashed. The castle was completed. Anos then assigned each member to face an incarnation in individual battles. Sasha faced one of the incarnations and stole his magic ring. He grew furious, trying to get it back with all his strength. She dodged every strike, reading his every move. Enraged, he drew his sword and landed a hit, retrieving the ring and using it to create a massive barrier trap around her. He smirked, thinking victory was his. But suddenly, he collapsed, bleeding from every direction. In panic, he asked, "What did you do to me?" Sasha smiled and replied, "Did you really think you'd take the ring that easily? Now, taste a little torment." The boy couldn't believe what was happening. He shouted, "You'll stay trapped inside these barriers forever." "But do you really think that would happen, my friend? Impossible." Suddenly, Sasha activated her demonic eyes and finished him off. She then shattered all the barriers, thus eliminating the first of the 4 remaining incarnations. Now, let us move on to the next battle, Ray and the boy accompanying him. At that moment, the boy had activated gravity magic against Ray, rendering him completely immobile. He arrogantly declared, "You are now trapped within a magical domain. There's nothing you can do. Surrender, my friend, and let me slice through your body with these blades." The wound caused by this sword never heals. He boasted proudly, certain that victory was near, until Ray, unfazed, calmly severed his arm and mocked, "You really think your gravity magic can bind me? That might work on your mother, but not on me. And by the way, this sword of yours looks rather interesting. Let me give it a try myself." Shocked by his severed arm, the boy quickly regenerated it using his own powers and warned, "This sword carries a unique curse. A demon like you won't even be able to hold it." But Ray had already picked it up, without hesitation. Not only that, he seized the other sword as well, and completely turned the tables. He looked his opponent straight in the eye and smirked. "Didn't you say the blade leaves a permanent mark? Very well, let's put that to the test." And with that, he launched a relentless assault, striking him down and leaving him sprawled on the ground. Thus, Anos' team secured their second victory. Now, only Zashia remained, a ferocious girl who fought like a beast with no mercy and no hesitation. She charged at Anos with ruthless aggression. Though she was wild and dangerous, Anos stood firm, completely in control, crushing his enemies without mercy. Sensing imminent defeat, the enemy forces resorted to an amplification spell, drawing power from the entire city city's inhabitants to maximize their strength. It worked. Their strikes grew fiercer and faster, pushing Anos to his limit. One of them mocked. Even if you were the demon king who fought the hero canon 2,000 years ago, he only had the support of 100,000 people. We, on the other hand, are drawing energy from more than 10 million citizens. This power will be your end. But Anos simply smiled. So you think having the energy of 10 million people gives you victory? Alright then. Fan club, can you hear me? The girls responded in unison. Yes, we hear you. Sing my song, Anos ordered. Focus all your power on it. Let's flip this battle upside down. Immediately, the girls began singing. Their voices carried an overwhelming energy that surged toward Anos, flooding the battlefield and triggering his full power. Harnessing their strength, he lunged toward his enemies with fury, knocking them down one after another. 8 enemies against the power of 10 million. It was never a fair match. The energy surged around him. The melody filled the air, and everyone stood in awe. The enemy leader couldn't believe what he was seeing. How? You're only 8. Where is all this power coming from? Anos answered calmly. Their sincere feelings, the emotions from their hearts, are stronger than the emotions of the 10 million on your side. Now prepare yourself. This is the end. In that moment, the enemy stood paralyzed in despair. Suddenly, a strange voice echoed in everyone's mind. Even the girls stopped singing. Their powers vanished. Zeshia seized the moment. She gathered all her energy and charged at Anos in a reckless suicide attack, aiming only to kill him. Anos narrowly saved himself, believing the threat was over, but Zeshia reappeared and exploded. Then a third version appeared, clearly holding the source of her power. Anos grabbed the energy core, attempting to understand what was going on. Just then, he heard Eleanor's voice calling out, "Come to the sanctuary, immediately. Otherwise, this battle will never end." Anos sent Misha ahead while he tried to stop Zeshia and disable the spell. Misha reached the sanctuary, but just as she was about to enter, Iju appeared. He struck her down and used holy power to drain her strength. He stabbed her in the stomach repeatedly, saying, "I won't let a single demon live. I'll start with you, and then slaughter the rest." He was about to destroy her core completely, until Anos arrived just in time. He shattered the attack, formed a protective barrier around Misha, and began healing her wounds. "I'm sorry I let you get hurt again. Please wait just a little longer," he told her. Then he stepped forward to face Iju. "So you're the one behind all this? You're the disgusting creature who caused these battles? You use Hero Kanan's name to deceive the world just to get to me? Pathetic." Iju, enraged, prepared to strike, but Anos didn't let him. He killed him instantly, then revived him and asked, "If you've got the time to die, then tell me, who's pulling your strings?" Iju remained silent. So Anos revealed his transformed form and sneered, "How does it feel to become a demon? To see your filthy emotions take physical form within your own body?" But Iju didn't care about anything except killing Anos. He cast a spell to control the girls as well, inciting chaos, forcing everyone to fight one another. Anos, unbothered, declared, "You're finished." He reached out, grabbed Iju's power source, and erased him from existence. Then he carried Misha and headed to the sanctuary, where he met Eleanor, standing at the center of a massive magical circle. Surrounding her were millions of Zeshia clones, each encased in a magical bubble. The scene was breathtaking. Anos, confused, asked, "What is happening here?" Eleanor began to explain, "I am not human. I am a magical spell, created by a human who wanted to eradicate demons. But if you truly wish to understand, you must free me quickly. Iju has cast a detonation spell on all the students at the academy. I have to stop it immediately." Anos freed her, and she began undoing the curse from the students. Then she started recounting the truth from the beginning. "After you, Kanon, and Jirga created the barrier and disappeared. Jirga wasn't satisfied. His heart overflowed with hatred toward demons. So he created a spell that would transfer that hatred from generation to generation, endlessly. But the hero Kanon opposed him. He told Jirga this would nullify the Demon King's sacrifice and restart the war for no reason. Jirga responded by stabbing Kanon in the chest and casting his curse on the people. He created 2 spells, one called Ask, which allowed the students to hear his voice, and the other, Me. Yes, I am a failed spell. I carry only fragmented memories from Jirga. That's why he left me here, to manufacture lifeless human replicas with no feelings, no purpose, but to kill demons. I've grown tired of this burden, tired of watching the clones I create die one after another. Please, put an end to this madness. If you don't, the war will start all over again, and we'll be trapped in an endless cycle of hatred." The girl hadn't even finished her sentence when suddenly, one of the clones appeared and addressed Anos, saying, "Save our mother by any means necessary." The girl, having heard this, couldn't believe her ears. Tears poured down her face as she struggled to comprehend that the clone had forgiven her for all the crimes she had committed. More than that, the clone was now asking Anos to save her as well. Anos, witnessing the scene, understood a significant part of the story, and calmly asked her about Ego. Is he like the clones as well? Will he keep awakening as long as you remain alive? She answered, yes, the only solution is for you to end me. But before he could reply, Ego appeared in the area, flanked by a group of equally exhausted guards. He had returned once again to kill Anos, and suddenly, as everyone was distracted, 3 of the high-ranking demons burst into the scene. Yes, they were the last 3 remaining demon emperors, the ones under the control of Avos Dilhevia. They had come seeking the holy sword of the hero canon. Ego knew that no one could draw that sword, but Avos had already done so. Exploiting the chaos and destruction caused by Anos, he stormed into the place and drew the sword effortlessly. Those around him tried to stop him, but it was in vain. He crushed them all and vanished in an instant. Thus, a global war was once again declared between humans and demons, and it seemed it would be a massacre in every sense of the word. Anos immediately attempted to chase after Avos to uncover his identity and purpose. He attacked him, but Avos deflected the strike with ease and said, I will be the one to destroy all humans and purge this world of their evil. With that, he vanished after declaring war. Anos was confused. He couldn't understand the reason behind this. Meanwhile, Ego awakened once again and began live streaming to all of humanity, announcing, the Demon King has returned and stolen the Holy Sword. We must destroy him immediately. At the same time, the 3 remaining emperors allied with Anos declared a state of war against the humans and ordered all the forces of the Demon Kingdom to unite and prepare for the upcoming battle. Everyone was thrilled and ready to fight, unaware of what they were truly heading into. Anos and the emperors united to stop the impending catastrophe and began assigning tasks. Misha and Sasha were tasked with halting the soldiers without killing them. The 3 emperors would engage the 3 emperors loyal to Avos. As for Anos, he declared, I will confront Avos Dilivia myself and uncover who he is and what he wants. Meanwhile, Rei and Misa had their roles as well. They would cut off the soldiers' advance and stall their movements. But before leaving, Rei approached Misa and confessed his feelings to her. Then he took the necklace from around her neck, a 2-part pendant, and wore one part, leaving the other with her. It was a direct marriage proposal. He told her, I don't know what I'm about to face or how this will end, but I promise you I will return, Misa. The girl was overjoyed, though she didn't fully understand his words. And so, the battle began. The demon army reached the borders. Misha and Sasha stood like a barrier in their path, stopping them from advancing. Likewise, Rei and Misa halted a large portion of the enemy, letting no one pass. As for Anos and his group, they began fighting without mercy, pinning down soldiers and restraining their movements. The 3 emperors under Avos, overwhelmed by the situation, charged into battle. Now, only Anos and Avos remained. In the clash, Avos and the 3 commanders with him attacked the emperors on Anos' side and defeated them. Once freed from their control, Anos continued toward the castle where Avos was expected to be, but he wasn't there. At the same time, Misa contacted Anos and informed him that Rei had disappeared from beside her, and she no longer knew his whereabouts. Doubt crept into Anos' mind, and he rushed to the location he suspected. There, he found Avos, using a barrier that blocked sound and sight, as if plotting something sinister. Suddenly, Avos drew the holy sword and launched an attack on Anos, who quickly blocked it. During the battle, something glimmered on Avos' chest. Anos grabbed it. It was the same pendant Rei had taken from Misa. And then, the truth came to light. Anos called out, Hero Kanan. It turned out that Rei was, in fact, Kanan himself, reincarnated in Rei's body, but he had told no one of his true identity and had been planning something all along. Anos asked him, Did you come here to fulfill your promise to me? Then why did you assume my identity and distort history? Tell me everything. Rei began to tell his story and Anos listened. He said, After you sacrificed your life, the humans betrayed me and killed me, as you saw in Eleanor's memories. After that, I clung to life, and using the sword I wield, I kept fighting, trying to change the world so that people wouldn't hate you again. That's why I changed the Demon King's name to Avos Dilhevia, because I knew that human hatred wouldn't end unless they killed the Demon King. So, I decided to become the scapegoat instead of you. I won't let you sacrifice yourself again. Anos was deeply moved and said, Thank you for everything you've done. But I'm sorry, no one asked you to sacrifice yourself for me. I decide my own fate, and I'll overcome every obstacle myself. Rei replied, As a hero, I was never able to repay you. I allowed the humans to start a new war. That's why I'll sacrifice myself as it was written. Anos refused, and the battle between them began, each one determined to sacrifice himself for the other. The fight erupted. Anos unleashed his full power from the start, destroying the first of Kanan's 7 energy sources, meaning Kanan still had 6 left. Anos continued his relentless assault, destroying 3 more sources. Only 1 remained, and if Kanan were to die now, he would not reincarnate again. Anos pretended he was going to finish him off. Kanan, overcome with rage, charged Anos with all his strength, and indeed, managed to kill him. That had been Anos' true goal all along, to convince Kanan Kanon to kill him. He quickly changed clothes, donned a mask, and lowered the barrier. Everyone saw the scene and believed the Demon King had been slain by the hero Kanon. Recognizing him by the sword, Anos shouted with all his might, announcing the end of the battle between humans and demons, urging everyone to return to their realms until further notice. The humans rejoiced, and the battle was finally over. Yet Kanon felt immense sorrow, for Anos had sacrificed himself once again. Anos thanked him for everything he had done and said, "Don't worry, we'll always be friends." Then, he vanished from everyone's sight as the war came to an end. Misha and Sasha, upon witnessing what had happened, were overwhelmed with sadness, yet hope never left their hearts. They believed Anos would one day return. At that moment, both humans and demons began to retreat, everyone except Ego. He refused to leave. Driven mad by rage because the war hadn't turned out as he had wanted, he ordered all Zisha clones to self-destruct. He was utterly furious and he shouted at them, "Do you think a grudge lasting 2,000 years is something trivial? Is this the benefit you've been waiting for? Is this false power the one meant to bury me? I will not rest until I destroy you all." And indeed, the latent energy inside Ego began to stir, revealing the true form of Jirga. He started absorbing energy from the entire area, unleashed an enormous spell, and manifested his body, announcing that he was ready to obliterate anyone who stood in his path. When Kanon saw him, he burned with rage and charged at him, trying to end everything. But the power Jirga possessed was anything but normal. It was a pure embodiment of a deep-seated hatred that lasted 2,000 years, fueled further by the hatred of mankind. Kanon couldn't resist him in any way. Even Sasha and Misha, upon seeing him, combined their powers through a new fusion spell, significantly boosting their energy in an attempt to stop Jirga and break his magic. But the latter only grew stronger, absorbing magic from everyone around him, summoning the Zetia soldiers, and preparing to blow up the demon realm. Armies, demons, humans, everyone united against him just to stop him. But it seemed like he had completely lost his mind and was already on the verge of detonating everything. He cast a massive spell, gathering all of his clones and preparing for the explosion. He was in a state of ecstasy, believing no one could match him, and suddenly, Anos appeared. With a single move, he nullified all of Jirga's magic, even across his clones. Jirga couldn't believe his eyes. Shocked, he asked, "How are you alive? You weren't supposed to awaken for another 2,000 years. Anos replied, "Yes, but my origin magic allows my being to reconstruct itself in under an hour, only if I'm struck by the same person who killed me before." Luckily, my friend didn't hold back. Infuriated, Jirga let out a mocking laugh, then suddenly activated the spell, Ask. He began absorbing the energy of the citizens, no, even their very souls. His power kept swelling, and he cloaked himself in a terrifying shield. He then said to Anos, "It's good that you're awake, so I can crush you with my own hands." He lunged at Anos, but Kanon arrived on the battlefield and shouted, "Don't forget about me, my friend. I'm still here." Anos looked at him with pride and said, "Let's do this." The two clashed with Jirga together, attacking him from every direction. They gave him no room to breathe. But Jirga wasn't an easy opponent. He managed to land a devastating blow on Anos, knocking him down and wounding him. He then began mocking him, thinking he had already won. But, do you really think Anos would lose, my friend? Of course not. Suddenly, his fan club began singing again. Their energy, born from pure love, surged toward him. Anos was enveloped in an overwhelming force of emotion. It was an explosion of heartfelt power. Jirga didn't surrender. He tried to attack them to silence the chorus. But the humans, the demons, everyone stood united against him. Because life, my friend, isn't that easy. Before he could shift strategies, Anos appeared in front of him once again, using a binding spell that froze him in place. At the same time, Kanon struck his leg from below, sending him crashing to the ground. Then, the two stood in the sky, side by side, each holding his sword. They shouted together, "Let's finish this." They unleashed their legendary attack upon him. Jirga gave everything he had to block it. But do you think it worked? No, my friend. Boom. Their strike pierced his defenses and everything he had crumbled. And thus, the battle that lasted 2,000 years ended with an unforgettable, legendary conclusion. Anos and his companions were overjoyed. No one could believe what had just happened. Misha and Sasha ran toward Anos, tears in their eyes as they embraced him, overwhelmed with joy. Kanon and Misa were also present, celebrating together. Everyone gathered in the demon realm to rejoice. Anos' father and mother stood in stunned amazement. 2,000 years before the incarnation of Anos, in the heart of the enchanting forest of spirits, the great spirit Reno stood amid a gathering of spirits, announcing in a firm tone her decision to journey to the demon kingdom. The news was met with disapproval from the other spirits, as fear and concern for her safety seized them. Reno attempted to calm them with gentle words, but her voice was suddenly cut off when the sky split apart, and Nalia, the ruler of the sky, manifested with overwhelming majesty. Nalia arrogantly declared that he had chosen Reno to become the mother of his future offspring, but she confronted him with absolute refusal. The ruler could not comprehend her audacity in rejecting his command, affirming that his will could not be denied. A profoundly unbalanced battle soon erupted. exploded, and under the crushing weight of the divine power wielded by the ruler of the sky, Reno fell defeated. Nalia imprisoned her, attempting to force her to fulfill his purpose. At that critical moment, the hero Anos appeared like a raging storm of power, standing between the ruler and his objective, drawing his sword and piercing Nalia's heart with a swift strike. Nalia threatened his foe with death, yet Anos remained unmoved, coldly declaring that he would shatter the very laws upon which the rulers relied. He then completely crushed Nalia's body. Turning to Reno, Anos asked about her decision, and she answered with a tranquil heart that she had chosen to place her trust in him. Anos then ordered his loyal subordinate Shin to accompany and protect her on her journey to the Demon Kingdom, fearing that Nalia might reappear to attack her again. Although Reno initially complained and claimed she had no need for a guard, Shin was prepared to take his own life rather than disobey his master's command, forcing her to agree in the end. Along their journey, the stiffness between Shin and Reno gradually faded, and she felt a subtle inclination toward him as a result of his sincere care for her. Elsewhere, Anos met with Kanon to inform him of his grand plan, as the two began a great ritual to separate the four worlds from one another. Upon Reno and Shin's return to the Forest of Spirits, they were shocked by the extent of the devastation that had befallen the place. Injured spirits appeared, recounting how they had been ambushed by savage beasts. Shin confronted the monsters with remarkable skill, while Reno sensed a presence hidden behind the trees, discovering it to be a small, innocent child who introduced himself as Anosh. Returning to the present, Anos walked steadily toward the academy, surrounded by the cheers of girls from his fan club. When Sasha and Misha appeared, Anos noticed a new ribbon adorning Sasha's hair, causing embarrassment to color her cheeks. Misa and Rei soon joined them, stirring whispers among the students who began to harass them, though Misa attempted to explain the situation calmly. In the classrooms, ignorance still dominated the students, as they had yet to realize that Anos was the true Demon King. Instead, they foolishly believed that the so-called king would make him regret his mockery of the nobles. Instructor Menu introduced the new student Eleanor, accompanied by Zeishia. Despite the students' displeasure at their arrival from the Hero Academy, Menu clarified that the ancient conflict had been orchestrated solely by Diego, and that there was no reason to harbor hatred toward humans. She then introduced the new teacher, who appeared ordinary to the students, until Menu revealed that he had been born before the 7 great demons and was one of the 4 evil kings from the mythical era. The teacher began his lesson with a thunderous revelation, exposing Avos as nothing more than a false name meant to deceive humans, and declaring that Anos was the true demon king. He produced an ancient covenant from the 7 demons as irrefutable proof, and ordered everyone to kneel in reverence before Anos. With complete humility, Anos instructed them to sit, affirming that the world was at peace and had no need for a king who inspired fear. He then questioned the teacher about the reason for hiding in such a frail guise when he was, in truth, Nalia. Nalia admitted that a grave matter was at hand, prompting Anos to listen. Nalia explained to the students that the world was governed by strict laws, overseen by beings known as rulers. He recounted how the ruler of destruction Reno had wreaked havoc 2,000 years earlier until she was defeated by the Demon King, who changed her name, transformed her body into a castle, and her power into a sword of destruction. This act disrupted the cosmic balance, leading the rulers to decide upon Anos's eradication. The students mocked the tale, whereupon Nalia revealed his true form as the ruler of the sky and the father of all rulers, casting magical restraints upon them and declaring that a new system had been born within the academy specifically to destroy Anos. Although Anos thanked him for the warning, Nalia persisted in his threats, prompting Anos to stab him cold-bloodedly before everyone, heedless of warnings that his death would cause the world to collapse. With astonishing speed, Anos restored him to life, but with only 10% of his power, forcing him to behave with proper respect in his presence. Nalia resumed the lesson in shock, while Anos understood that the ruler was searching for a vessel for his son, designed to kill him. Eleanor suggested dividing into groups to search for this threat, while Misa and Rei exchanged vows of protection in an emotional moment, before being interrupted by a man named Gerard, who claimed to be acting on orders from Misa's father. Meanwhile, Anos discovered that Melheis was in critical condition when Zoro, one of the king's advisors, appeared and explained that Rivest had willingly offered his body to become the greatest enemy of Anos. Instead of a direct confrontation, Zoro proposed a mental challenge based on 18 questions to uncover the identity of the ruler's son. Anos accepted the challenge with confidence, asserting that he would complete it in only 9 questions. As Rei and Misa followed Gerard, a tragedy occurred when Gerard stabbed Misa with a sword resembling her father's. In the castle, Anos began interrogating Zoro, who denied that the ruler's son was Misha, Sasha, or Zashia, asserting with suspicious doubt that it might be Misa. Anos began to apply his intellect, using his questions with precision to eliminate possibilities one after another, quickly realizing that this game lacked any correct answer. He perceived that Zoro had implanted false memories within his mind. There had been no need for deception at all. However, this realization came too late, after the pact had already been sealed. With Anos' loss in the challenge, the contract was activated, and his powers were stripped away. In that fleeting moment, Zoro lunged forward and finished off Melheis. Yet Anos, despite the loss of his magic, crushed his enemies with his bare hands, revealing that the slain Melheis was merely an illusion, and that the real Melheis was still alive. In a related turn of events, Rei and Misa discovered that Gerard was nothing more than a subordinate of one of the 4 evil kings, tasked with stealing Misa's source. He exposed her hidden secret, revealing that she was the daughter of the spirit mother Reno, and that her source possessed the authority to control the other spirits. Although Rei was struck by Gerard's armor, which attacked the core of the soul, he did not fall, for he possessed 7 sources as the new incarnation of Kanan, and he ultimately crushed Gerard. On another front, Zabo was turning the heroes into walking dead to fight Eleanor, who confronted him with her overwhelming magic. Zabo acknowledged her power, revealing his purpose in creating Zacia as a vessel for the power of one of the rulers. He soon unleashed a magical circle that transformed the Academy's students into monsters, prompting Eleanor to retreat alongside Zacia before the immense horde. As for Rinka, she confronted Misha and Sasha, claiming that their existence was owed to the rulers. The 2 sisters affirmed that their loyalty and lives belonged solely to Anos. While the Walking Dead surrounded Eleanor and Zacia near a purple crystal that Zabo sought to exploit to drain their power, Eleanor succeeded in forging an impenetrable barrier and destroying the crystal, healing all the students with a single magical touch. The clash between Rinka and the 2 sisters intensified. Despite the fusion of their powers, Rinka managed to pierce Sasha's body and stab Misha in the chest, believing the battle to be decided. The surprise froze her when her sword shattered and Misha rose once more, revealing her true power through the ice magic Adel Skad, leading Rinka to realize in terror that her opponent's latent powers had awakened. Zoro asked in astonishment about the reason Melheis was still alive, and Anos answered that he had created a copy using Eleanor's spell, affirming that Zoro's defeat had been inevitable from the moment the challenge began. Zoro chose suicide, but Anos revived him in the form of Les, forcing him to reveal the scheme, whose aim had been to weaken Anos by killing Melheis. With the arrival of their companions, Melheis proposed revealing the truth at the Second Life Festival to ease human fears of the Demon King. Melheis also revealed that the leader of the Unifiers was Shin, Anos' former right-hand assistant. Anos explained his preoccupation with building a city beneath Deljet and learned that Shin was waiting for him in the Forest of Spirits. When Rei offered half of Misa's sword that he had recovered, Anos joined it with the other half, causing Shin's true sword to manifest. Anos smiled, declaring that their next destination was the Forest of Spirits. Anos did not neglect to keep watch over Nalia, reminding everyone that the rulers abide by their pacts. He then transported them all to Arthon for a field lesson amid the excitement of his fan club. There, Anos and his companions encountered a girl named Lena, who was defending the existence of the Forest of Spirits against mockery. Anos saved her, discovering that she had lost her memory and recalled only her name and the need to reach the forest. She explained that the path opens when spirits laugh during a solar eclipse. With divine power, Anos moved the planets to create an immediate eclipse, and the long-awaited mist appeared. When no one could make the spirits laugh, one of the fan club girls caused a spontaneous incident due to the Mona's staff and extreme embarrassment, causing the spirits to burst into laughter. They immediately recognized Anos as the Demon King and guided them to the forest. Upon their arrival, Nalia appeared once more, pledging non-interference. Anos asked about Shin, but the spirits denied seeing him, noting that Lena resembled the late Reno, who had been killed 2,000 years earlier. Misa was saddened, only to learn from the spirits that her scent resembled Reno's, confirming the truth of her mother. While the identity of her father remained a secret the spirits kept hidden, they ultimately arrived before a colossal tree revealed to be the Spirit Academy, where Gil Seros, one of the 4 evil kings, received them, absolving himself of the actions of his subordinate Zabo, before the other 2 kings, Iz and Kayum, appeared to declare that matters were not as simple as they seemed. A sudden bell rang out across the surroundings, and in that moment Lena regained the memory of a spirit named Enyon, who manifested before them in the form of a majestic speaking tree. The doors shut tightly, and Enyon issued a warning to everyone that they were now inside his classroom, and they would not leave the Spirit Academy except by passing 3 tests. He explained the rules with severity. The minimum score for success was 80 points, and whoever failed would fall into the grasp of the hiding wolf. He also confirmed that any form of violence was completely forbidden, and that success was the only way to meet the Spirit King. Anos was in a hurry, so he demanded to take all 3 tests at the same time. Enyon agreed to this challenge, but raised the passing threshold to 90 points, declaring that the Moed would be after 1 week. Gil Saros was astonished by Anos's confidence, but Anos was certain that his team would obtain the perfect score. He even challenged Gil Saros to reveal who he obeyed if they won, and they made a pact in which they wagered on Anos's origin. Misha had doubts about the nature of the test related to spirits and the possibility of failure, but Anos knew that Lena was the key because she was a spirit. He tried to restore her memory, yet he realized that her loss of consciousness was not a simple matter. Everyone devoted themselves to studying, and Anos began helping them to deepen their understanding quickly, noticing that the books contained no mention of Lena, except for a torn page that spoke of a love fairy named Fran. As the first test began, Anos proceeded to answer with ease, wondering at Gil Saros's wager on their failure. Gil Saros contacted Anos mentally to tell him that his followers were finding the questions difficult. Anos suspected Gil Saros of manipulating the questions, so he stood to check his companion's answers. Gil Saros accused him of cheating, and Anos replied that he had already completed his test. The test ended, and the results appeared with the evil kings failing, while Anos's group achieved the perfect score, and Zeshia alone obtained 150 points. Gil Saros reviewed the papers in shock, describing them as strange, especially the "we do not know" answers that Anos's team had written. Anos explained to him that his magical logic was sufficient to destroy any constants. Inyon announced the start of the second test, and here Anos demanded that his opponent Gil Saros fulfill his pact. Anos asked whether the Spirit King was the true force moving him, and Gil Saros found no escape from admitting the truth of his words. At that time, Anos received a signal from Melheis indicating that the ceremony for the return of the Demon King was approaching, which would allow them to expose the lie of Avos Dihia, while Nalia watched the second test with a mysterious smile. Enyon gathered the students to explain the mission, reaching the summit of the Great Tree through 20 stairways, only 5 of whose doors led to the goal, and whoever chose wrongly would return to the starting point. Eleanor was surprised that the test depended on luck, and Sasha thought that their large numbers were an advantage, but Anos realized that the evil kings possessed a way to choose the correct stairway. To ensure his team's success, Anos divided his magical power to protect them, and his companions became copies of him. Anos was certain of the correctness of his path, and he asked his companions about their doors. Ray and Misa confirmed that luck had favored them as well. Lena joined Anos after she remembered a secret passage that led them to another stairway, then to a new secret passage that ended with them in a field of roses. Lena felt familiarity with the place and rushed toward an unknown grave, feeling a deep sadness she could not explain. Ray and Misa arrived, and Ray carried Lena so they could climb to the next level, where they faced the hiding wolf Janiel, who chose to let them pass in peace. In another corner, a girl named Jayust emerged from the shadows, confirming that they were safe from eavesdropping. From her words, it was understood that the Spirit King had seized Kayum by means of the wolf. Lena was surprised by Just's resemblance to Kayum, and Anos explained that this was the result of a divided personality with 2 different sources, one being Kayum, and the other, his beloved Jayust. Jayust revealed that Gerard had attacked them under threat from the Spirit King, who had kidnapped a hostage to force the Curse King into submission, claiming to protect the spirits after the death of Reno. Just showed Anos the face of the Spirit King, and he realized that it was Aldelvia, the same person whom Ray had met in the tournament. Anos promised her that he would save Kayum in response to her request. At that time, Ray and Misa reached the castle of the Spirit King and faced the Masked King, asking about the reason for his hatred of Anos. Ray realized that breaking the mask was the only way to obtain answers. Ray and Avos clashed in a violent battle, and Ray felt the memory of an ancient fight with this person. A girl intervened to strike Ray, and Avos prepared to attack, but Misa saved him, revealing her true form to support him. Despite Ray's superiority, Avos used spirit magic to renew his mask and imprison Ray, and as he was about to deliver the finishing blow, Misa shielded Ray with her body. Anos and Lena reached the entrance of Arth, where Aegis and Janiel were present. Aegis offered cooperation, on the condition that Anos would continue on his path, while Aegis rescued the hostages. Anos protected Lena with a barrier, and he tried to seize Janiel with Aegis's help, but Lena was suddenly abducted, and Janiel disappeared, telling Anos to follow the path to Aaron, promising to save his companions. Anos set out, hoping he would not have to fight Aegis in the future. On his way, Gil Saros blocked Anos's path, announcing that it was a spirit trial, summoning red crystals and stipulating that combat be conducted using only their magical power. Gil Ceros boasted of a forgotten spell he had developed over 2,000 years that multiplied power to the maximum limit, and he launched a devastating attack with all the crystals. Anos was unaffected by the attack. Rather, he overcame Gil Ceros with his own spell, revealing to him that he had surpassed this level of power 2,000 years ago. Anos finally arrived before the Spirit King, only to discover that the one standing before him was, in truth, Misa. It was now understood that she was the child of a ruler, and that her source had merged with Avos, that spiritual entity formed from the rumors that had persisted for 2,000 years among humans and demons. Anos recalled Zik's attempt to kill Melheis, and believed that his plan had been meant to delay the ceremony of the Demon King's return, the very ceremony in which they were supposed to reveal that Avos was nothing more than a lie, since Misa would not have been able to maintain her existence without that rumor. However, Avos told him that it was already too late, because all the demons in Delk had believed in her, and as a result, he had been stripped of his title. Anos realized that she was coveting the Sword of Destruction. At that moment, the 7 elders attacked him, but he laughed and told her to enjoy this moment until the true Demon King returned, before vanishing and leaving the place. Anos returned to his followers at the Spirit Academy, explaining to them that Misa was the daughter of a ruler, and that half of her existence might be composed of the rumors associated with Avos. Ray felt guilty for having been the reason that rumor had been preserved, but Anos reassured him not to burden himself with the past. Sasha wondered whether Misa would disappear once the truth emerged, since she had been formed from the lie of Avos. Yet Anos appeared confident that he would find a solution to this dilemma. From his foresight of events, Anos understood that Avos would seek the support of the royal families, and therefore saw the need to protect the hybrid immediately. Suddenly, Enyon appeared and imprisoned them, claiming that he could not allow them to harm the daughter of Reno. Anos, however, had no intention of remaining there, and cast a spell that enabled them to escape from the academy. The group encountered an old subordinate of Anos, who coveted taking his source, but Aegis suddenly appeared and revealed that he had rescued the hostages, explaining that all of Anos's former followers were now under the orders of Ice. Aegis told Anos that he would deal with this man himself, and Anos thanked him for his assistance before continuing the escape with his team. Along the way, Anos found Lena after Aegis had rescued her, and asked whether she knew a way out. She explained that leaving by ordinary means was impossible, and requested the spirits' help in departing the forest. The spirits responded to her request, and opened a gate leading out of the land of spirits. Anos then transported everyone once more to Del Gid, and when the gate suddenly opened, he concealed their presence. At that moment, the demon general Ilio appeared, leading his forces and searching for them. Anos revealed himself before him, whereupon Ilio and his soldiers immediately knelt, explaining that not everyone in Delk believed that Avos was the true demon queen. Ilio informed Anos of the dangerous situation, revealing that the city was under the influence of a spell that implanted Avos's will into the hearts of the people, and that the royal families had fallen completely under her control. He also explained that demons from before 2,000 years ago were suffering even more severely because they were subject to direct orders from the Demon King. Ilio revealed that the royal families had formed a faction that had begun attacking the hybrid, and that Avos had granted them a spell that enabled them to absorb magical power from them. At the same time, Anos's mother was feeling anxious about him, while his father reassured her that he would return safely. Amelia was running through the city when a group of nobles attacked her for being a hybrid. They began beating her and draining her energy, but Anos's mother intervened. When the nobles turned to attack her, the husband stepped forward to protect her, yet they defeated him with ease. Amelia recalled how hybrids had been treated in the past, so she pushed Anos's mother away from the blow, and received the fire spell herself. The noble man laughed arrogantly, but Anos arrived at precisely the right moment, quickly surrounding the nobles and detonating their bodies. He decided to leave them in that state until the city was completely freed from Avos's grip. Joy filled the mother's heart upon seeing him again, and she decided to make cookies for Amelia. Sasha was surprised that the father remained unharmed after such severe beating, and Anos revealed that he had placed a self-healing spell on him before leaving the house. They began planning their entry into Dalad, and Sasha wondered why Misa did not simply seize his sword now that she had obtained the title of Demon King. Anos reminded her that no one remained alive after seeing his sword, and therefore no rumor about it existed. Ray asked whether Avos was incapable of using places that did not exist in legends, and Anos confirmed this. It was now understood that this was the reason behind his plan to use the city of Zas, which no one knew about except them, so that it would remain beyond Avos's surveillance. They prepared to depart, but Amelia appeared and asked him why he had saved her, explained that his action was repayment for her protecting his mother, and asked whether she still wished to belong to the royal families after her experience as a hybrid. She found no answer and burst into tears, so Anos left her behind and continued on his way toward the city of Zeus. He walked through the city with his companions until they reached a gate, which he explained was connected to the corridor of his palace, expecting the enemy to be waiting for them. Everyone confirmed their readiness, and they entered to reclaim his sword. They moved through the corridor, and when Sasha demanded that they hurry, Anos silenced her upon noticing approaching figures. It was Lucha, a demoness of the mythical era, accompanied by soldiers, along with Revest and Manu. Anos concealed his presence until they passed, but the mark of division on Revest caught his attention. Revest suggested staying behind to search the place again, so Lucha left him and continued on her way. The appearance of Anos put Manu at ease, and she explained to him that most of the nobles were under Avos's control, and that hybrids were being imprisoned to exploit them as sources of mana. Anos asked her to determine Nalia's location, and expressed his desire to investigate the treasure chamber, intending to use a time reversal spell to learn the fate of Reno and Shin 2,000 years earlier. Anos wondered why Misa possessed memories of only the last 15 years, even though her origin was a rumor about Avos, and she should have been born 2,000 years ago. He believed that Reno was the key to understanding, and saw that everything had begun with her death. Ray asked why they were going to the treasure chamber, and Anos revealed his intention to use the magic of the Scythe of the Time Guardian to return to the past. Revest proposed drawing the enemy's attention by attacking, and Anos agreed, warning of the intensity of the pain before casting a powerful curse upon him. Lucha rushed toward Revest's screams, realizing that he had fallen under an ancient curse. Menu told her that Anos had gone up to the upper floor, and they set out to search for him. Anos reappeared before Revest, explaining that treating him now was impossible in order to preserve the secrecy of the plan. Revest affirmed his endurance and urged Anos to expose the false demon king. Anos then reached the treasure chamber, and when Eleanor asked whether he intended to change the past, he explained that radical change was impossible in order to avoid a temporal paradox, and that he would be content merely to observe what had happened to Shin and the others. With the power of 10,000 Zas and the Scythe, he created the strongest time magic and returned them to the mythical era, where Anos envisioned Reno and Shin returning to the Forest of Spirits. Anos clarified that small changes in the past might remain, and when Ray pointed out that Anos' very existence alive constituted a major change, Anos ordered him to conceal his origin with magic. They entered the human city in disguise to purchase food, and at the same time, Reno arrived accompanied by Shin, who wore a mask to hide his demonic identity. Reno attempted to buy food, but Eleanor had already bought everything. When Zashia noticed Reno's distress, she offered her sweets, so Reno thanked her and gifted her cookies before leaving. Anos warned the girls against getting too close, concealed their presence, and told Lena that Shin might be the spirit king she was seeking, though she was uncertain and felt that something was amiss. Shin and Reno passed through the barrier and reached the Forest of Spirits, only to find it devastated by the presence of ruler beasts. Shin lunged to attack, and from Anos' observation, it was understood that those beasts should not have been able to cross the barrier. When the beasts became aware of Anos' presence, Sasha employed a visual spell to deal with them without exposing themselves. Reno sensed their presence and demanded that they reveal themselves. Anos introduced himself by name, claiming that they were a troupe of traveling performers. Reno was surprised that they had crossed the barrier and asked Shin about his suspicion of them, but he affirmed that they were merely an artistic group. When Shin asked about their purpose, Anos explained his desire to search, introduced Lena, and asked Reno about a cure for her memory loss. Reno drew Anos aside to reveal that Lena was the love fairy Fran, who wandered astray in search of her memories. She explained that Fran faded each time she discovered her true identity, and that she needed to remember her first love. Suddenly, a beast attacked, and Ray confronted it. Since their swords had not carried over to the past, Ray borrowed Shin's sword and annihilated the beast with it, earning Shin's admiration, who agreed to lend him the sword. Reno summoned the spirits to restore the forest, expressing her astonishment at the beast's intrusion, leading Anos to conclude that they had existed before the barrier was constructed. Fear seized Reno at the possibility of Nalia's presence, but Shin reassured her of his protection. The spirits appeared worried about the imminent disappearance of the grandmother, prompting Reno to decide to bid her farewell. They reached the great spirit tree, Milof, the spirit of wisdom, who welcomed Anos and gifted the group leaves of wisdom, noting that Anos had no need of them. Milof explained that the tree of war fades when war ends so that a new tree may grow, and when Reno wept, she told her that a time would come when she would have to choose between protecting legends or defending what was precious to her. Milof faded away, and as Shin comforted Reno, a new teaching tree sprouted from her tear. Enyon entered it, announcing his role as a teacher in an era of peace. Anos wondered whether she was capable of creating spirits freely. She explained to him that this was not accurate, as she could only do so when her emotions overflowed, and that there were also spirits born without any connection to her. She then asked Shin to accompany her, and the two departed. Anos ordered Rei and Misha to remain behind and observe them, while he went to continue his research with Enyon. There, he found only a few books about spirits, so he asked Eleanor and Zaishia to search for the book titled Love Fairy in order to read the missing page. Shin was seen walking with Reno, while Rei and Misha watched as they entered the secret gate. Reno showed Shin the flowers of tears, which absorb her tears to create new spirits. She planted them in the ground and watered them with her tears, then asked him to try. When he began watering them, the flowers withered, and she explained that they must be watered with love. She suggested that he think about his love for the Demon King, but he replied that he did not know the meaning of love, and that he had served Anos only because he had saved his life. The spirits came to thank Shin for saving them, and Reno suggested playing hide and seek. She told him that she would do anything they asked if they managed to escape him, yet he caught them all in an instant. She then told him that he had lost because he had not caught her, and she began thinking about her request. Suddenly, she sensed the presence of Ir in the forest, and the two went to meet him. He revealed that Nalia had turned to him, asking that Reno become the vessel to create the ruler's child, who would defeat Anos upon his new incarnation. Shin swiftly used his sword and struck him down, but Ir laughed, explaining that he was not an ally of the ruler's. He stated that Anos's only flaw was the absence of weaknesses, which prevented anyone from becoming his true enemy, and hindered the growth of his power. Sasha and Anos arrived, and Ir questioned whether the ruler's child would be an opponent worthy of Anos. He asked Shin and Reno to stop the birth of the child, declaring that if they could not stop it with their own strength, then that child deserved to be Anos's enemy. Laughed madly, causing Reno to sense his strangeness, but Shin sheathed his sword and asked him to guide them to Nalia. They went to the river, yet Shin did not sense her presence. Explained that he had a way to make her appear, produced an hourglass, and suddenly attacked. Shin was startled by his action, but replied that he was forcing Nalia to emerge, knowing she would not allow the mother of the ruler's child to die. Said that Shin had no obligation to protect the one who would give birth to the child, then stabbed him, declaring that his master was not weak enough to let Reno die just to protect himself. Fell, but returned to life laughing after feeding on the ruler's power. He revealed that he had offered his body as a vessel for Nalia, and that his true plan had been to die in order to force her to appear. Suddenly, Nalia took control of the body and ordered Shin to kneel. Shin pointed his sword at her. Nalia summoned the ruler beast to attack him, but Shin cut them down, asking what Nalia wanted. Nalia called Shin the sword that kills rulers, and told him that serving Anos would never fill the emptiness in his heart, asserting that no matter how many times he was reborn, he would never feel love. Reno suddenly attacked, declaring that Shin was a kind spirit. Nalia replied that Reno did not know him, revealing that he was not a demon, but a magical sword called Shirya, the sword that kills rulers, forged by the ancestors of the demons to fight the rulers. She stated that even with consciousness and a body, he would never feel love and would remain nothing more than a sword. Nalia reassured him that the rulers would change the system and grant him love in exchange for creating the ruler's child. But Shin severed Nalia's head, declaring that he had no need for love. Nalia claimed that the ruler's system was absolute, so Shin stabbed her, and she vanished into the air. Reno thanked him for protecting her and promised to teach him the meaning of love. In another scene, a boy was seen running before being stopped by guards. He told them that he needed to see the Demon King, but they ordered him to leave, stating that the Demon King was dead. The following day, Anos approached Reno and asked whether it was possible to change a spirit's legend without changing its name or essence. She explained that she was uncertain because the essence comes from the legend at the moment of birth. Anos thought about Avos's essence as the Demon King, realizing how difficult it would be to change. But Reno explained that the legend that follows the essence can change and influence the spirit. Rei trained with Shin in the flower field, while Lena appeared to water the flowers. Shin was surprised by Rei's rapid growth and his imitation of his movements, and decided to reveal his secret technique. Rei succeeded in blocking it, but the strike hit his shoulder. Shin explained that he had learned the move after being defeated by the hero Kanan, and revealed that Rei blocked it in the present, but was struck by it in the past. Shin went to water the flowers with Reno, but they withered because he was unable to use love. She reassured him that she would teach him. Anos asked Misha whether she had seen anything strange. The spirits told him they had seen a headless demon leading the forest, and he realized it was Nalia, deciding to investigate. They went to Dalad, and Anos explained that there was someone who knew everything. Militia, the ruler of creation, who might know the location of Ir and Escalia. He clarified that despite destabilizing the ruler's system, he was still an ally to some of them. They saw the boy they had encountered earlier, and Anos remembered that he was Igith, the seventh heir of the human kingdom, who had been imprisoned in Delk and was supposed to be freed by his death. The soldiers took Igith to the arena, and a demon named Deidre decided to take revenge on him for the death of his son at the hands of Yurga during the war. He began beating Igith as the soldiers watched, and the boy begged for mercy. Misha could not bear the sight, but Anos reminded her that the past would not change even if they intervened. Deidre decided to burn Igith, and the boy cried out, calling upon the Demon King. At that very moment, Anos appeared and saved him, saying that he was at least capable of saving him from this dream. Deidre was astonished that a demon would save a human, but Anos asked him what Agarth had done to him, and whether the Demon King had permitted that. Anos reflected that Deidre was no different from humans, which enraged Deidre, causing him to attack. Anos received the blow, and Deidre wondered why he did not defend himself. Anos asked them to abandon hatred, but Deidre wept, saying that he could never be like the Demon King, and launched a second attack. Anos used the Eyes of Destruction and halted the spell. Deidre recognized Anos's eyes and knelt before him, apologizing for being unable to protect him. Anos decided to deliver a direct message from the Demon King, promising that they would meet again after 2,000 years, and assuring him that a beautiful world awaited them. He saved him and left him to rest in a tower. There, Anos and Misha noticed that the Sword of Destruction had activated. Anos was surprised that it had appeared so early, and realized that someone from this era had anticipated his return from the future and prepared the sword. He understood that this might be his salvation, grasped the Sword of Destruction, and declared that with this sword, he could change the past. Igith regained consciousness and ran toward Anos, telling him that while they were returning to the human kingdom after their release, monsters had attacked them, and that he alone had survived due to the soldiers' sacrifice. He began describing the monsters, and Anos realized that they had been dragons, despite believing them to be extinct. Anos explained that he had come from the future, asked Igith whether he still needed saving, and then told him that he must kill him in order to reincarnate him through the Sword of Destruction, making his existence hidden even from the gods of time. Igith agreed, and asked if there was anything he could do in return. Anos asked him to spread a rumor about Avos when he was reborn, and Igith promised to fulfill his wish, after which Anos erased his existence. Inscriptions appeared on the wall bearing a message to Anos from a writer who wished to meet him in the future, telling him that he would fall in love once again. Anos realized that the writer was someone who had foreseen his journey to the past. As night fell, they spoke about Melisha, the ruler of creation. Anos explained that she was a gentle ruler, and that the essence of the world she created was a system of affection, which is why she always responds to those who wish for something from the heart. This led Anos to believe that Shin would be able to find love. Anos remembered the promise he had made to her, that he would destroy everything if the rulers brought irreparable tragedies. Misha said that the future world was peaceful, but Anos felt that this was not enough. They found another inscription at night stating that Nalia was in the warrior's cemetery. Misha noticed that the writer of the message knew that Anos would come, leading her to believe that the writer was Melisha, as though she were watching the world. They went to the cemetery, and Anos thought about all the people he had been unable to protect, feeling sorrow that he would not be able to enjoy the future with them. Misha used her magic to create a field of roses, believing that their feelings still remained. Anos thanked them and promised that their efforts would not be wasted, for peace would come in the future. At the same time, in a nearby house, Ir spoke with Zeke about Nalia, saying that her essence was still sealed in the Forest of Spirits, and that she was nearly dead. Ir explained that this was part of his plan to replace Nalia as the father of the rulers. Zeke warned him against underestimating the rulers and reminded him of the limitations of magic that steals their power, but Ir said that Alice Dihos was capable of completing the spell to steal Nalia's power, and that he believed Kanon would soon meet Reno and Shin. Anos and Misha overheard the conversation from outside and realized that Ir intended to exploit Kanon's plan. They went to meet Reno, and Misha was worried about her, but Anos reminded her that they had come from the beginning to witness her death in the Forest of Spirits. Kanon attempted to persuade Shin to spread rumors about a false demon king in order to save Anos from war with humans after 2,000 years. Shin said that his master could overcome them, but Kanon reminded him that Anos had sacrificed his life to prevent the war, and that the killing of humans must be stopped once again. Shin refused to help Kanon and threatened to kill him. Kanon called him selfish for placing everything on Anos' shoulders alone, and said that he wanted to be worthy of Anos' friendship in the future. Shin sheathed his sword and said that he would follow his master in the future, and decided to leave Reno. Reno said that she would not interfere in Kanon's plan. Kanon admitted that he had expected to be killed, but it was clear that Shin had changed. Reno remembered that this was because she had taught him the meaning of love, and Kanon noticed that she had fallen in love as well. When Reno understood her feelings toward Shin, she ran to him and confessed her love. He said that there was no love within him, thanked her for the time they had spent together, and told her that he had eliminated the last ruler beast, that Nalia had become weak, and that he had to leave to reincarnate alongside his master. She felt wronged, so he decided to give her something to remember him by, and promised to grant any request. Embarrassed, she asked him to marry her, and he agreed. They were married at the castle gate in the presence of the spirits and Anos's group, and Enyon blessed the marriage. The Spirit King was born at the very moment they exchanged kisses and vows. At night, Shin confessed that he was grateful to Reno for teaching him the meaning of love, and she affirmed that he already understood love, needing only to wait for the day when that feeling would bloom. Suddenly, the spirits appeared to announce that the ceremony was not yet complete, and that they must spend a honeymoon. Reno, extremely embarrassed, chased them away, and told Shin that they could simply talk and sleep. Shin told her how he had met Anos, revealing that when he took on a body, he challenged demons to test his strength, only to find them weak. His first defeat had been at Anos's hands, after which Anos invited him to become his subordinate. Shin realized that he had spent his entire life searching for a master worthy of wielding the sword that kills rulers, and explained that Anos had given him a reason to fight, prompting him to become his right hand. Reno understood his desire to reincarnate alongside Anos and admitted that she wanted more than merely sleeping beside him. Later, Shin rushed to her when he heard she had fainted, but she awoke and said she was fine. At that moment, Enyon spoke to her and informed her that she was pregnant. Reno was surprised by the possibility of conception between demons and spirits, and Enyon explained that the child's legend was weak and that the rumor had to be strengthened before birth. Reno was confident of success, thanked Shin for giving her a child, and asked him to choose a name, which he chose as Misha. Reno learned that Shin had to continue serving Anos, so she asked a frog to bring a book, tore out a page, and explained that it was about the love fairy Fran, a spiritual spell meant to reunite them upon reincarnation. Shin promised not to lose the page and assured her he would return. Inyon worried that Reno's legend as the mother of spirits meant she might vanish if she gave birth to a half-demon child, but Reno decided to give birth regardless, believing that if Shin discovered her passing, he would finally understand love, and that risking her life was worth it for the sake of 2 miracles. Suddenly, the flower field gate closed, and Nalia appeared, declaring that the ruler's word was absolute, and that everything followed rulerly will. He revealed that Reno and Shin had merely been tools to carry out the ruler's command, then showed her the legend of Misha, revealing it to be the rumor of the false demon king. The spirits went to Shin, who realized what was happening and ran to save Reno. Nalia announced the birth of the child who would defeat Anos, and forced Reno to give birth. Realizing her daughter was weak and would not survive, Reno created the spirit of the Spring of Time Icy and ordered him to send the child 2,000 years into the future, when her rumor would be stronger. Nalia claimed that the child would defeat Anos according to the ruler's decree, but Shin silenced him with his sword and Nalia vanished. Shin checked on Reno, who thanked him and apologized for giving birth to the ruler's child without teaching her love, asking him to destroy Misha if she ever became a danger to the world. Shin promised to spread the rumor of Avos and create a world she could live in, even if it meant opposing his master. Moved, Reno thanked him for teaching her the meaning of love. A tear fell to the ground, and she died. Shin built a memorial for her, and Anos's group returned to the present, grieving what had happened in the past. Anos declared that they would reclaim everything. As they walked through the castle dungeon, a voice warned that the hybrids would be executed unless Anos came alone to the arena. Understanding it was a trap to buy time, Anos summoned disguises. Misha changed her attire as well, and he sent Eleanor and Zeshia to assist with the rescue, while Lena accompanied him to confront the Spirit King. Anos wondered whether she knew why so many people had regained their memories at the same time. Deidre explained that the password was Anos Bidikol. She did not understand his meaning, so Anos clarified that it was something only his allies knew, allowing them to recognize one another without drawing attention, then ordered all his followers to assist. Eleanor and Zeshia surrounded the curses, and Ray leapt at them, but they escaped, leading him to realize that Anos had altered the past. Ray prepared to finish them, but Anos noticed Janiel and stopped the attack, and in that instant, Ray found himself inside the spirit of the wolf, where Shin was waiting. Shin declared his betrayal and drew his sword, but Anos saw that he did not need to raise a weapon against him, promising to save Misha and destroy Avos. Shin ignored his words and prepared to continue the battle they had begun at their first meeting. He said that Anos had betrayed him for 2,000 years by spreading the rumor of Avos, and now sought mercy from the only one capable of destroying him. Anos took the sword and said that he was proud of him, but granted him a chance to restore his dignity before sending him to the place where Reno was. Shin thanked his master and unleashed his strongest strike with all his power, yet he could not sever Anos's hand. Anos told him that he had failed because he was trying to be a demon rather than a sword. He acknowledged that Shin had lived in hell for 2,000 years, and that had he remained the same person as before, he would have granted him death. But in this era, Anos had become a father who wished him well, ordering him to live and be a father to Misa, and showing him the half of the sword he had given her, making Shin realize that Anos had grown stronger than ever. Meanwhile, Rei continued fighting Avos, knowing that everything that had happened was because of him. She froze him with a spell and told him that without Avos, Misha would never have been born, asking him to join her because she was still Misha. Rei sensed the difference in her and wished that the true Misha were still alive. Avos told him that it was too late and that this was her true form. At that moment, the contract around her neck shone, and Rei succeeded in breaking the spell, affirming that Misha was fighting alongside him from within. They clashed, and Avos managed to strike his source and activate a curse upon him. Even so, Rei was determined to win and invoked Misa's blessing as he attacked. She shielded herself with a barrier he tried to break, but Nalia disabled his ruler sword, allowing Avos to seize the opportunity and bind him with chains. Nalia appeared and explained that Ansa was a ruler-blessed sword that extinguished his power, telling Rei that all his divided origins had been destroyed and that the time had come for his death after fulfilling his role in spreading the rumor. Avos prepared to finish him, but her spell shattered with Anos's return. Nalia proposed a deal with Anos, but Anos sent him flying with a punch and ordered him to know his place. Avos threatened to use the Eyes of Destruction, but Rei broke free of the chains and attacked her, declaring himself her opponent. Nalia prepared to fight Anos, reminding him that he was the father of the rulers and that his will was absolute, prompting Anos to decide to defeat him. Nalia laughed and transformed into his true form, asserting that it was impossible to destroy a ruler without the power of destruction, and that if Anos succeeded, the world would collapse. He halted Ascalia's spell, stating that he would not allow that, and questioned why Anos attacked when he was not a match for Shin. Shin thanked Anos for granting him the chance to avenge Reno. Nalia launched an attack, declaring his defeat impossible as before. Shin stabbed his chest, causing flames to erupt, and Nalia used his magical eye to create ruler flames. Each time Shin attacked, Nalia produced more fire, summoned his ruler sword, shattered Shin's barrier, and a blow caused Reno's page to fall to the ground. As Shin tried to pick it up, Nalia stabbed him, and Reno felt the strike at that same moment. Nalia mocked him, claiming that his love was nothing but the ruler's will to fulfill his duty, and began burning Shin alive. Reno drew his attention, stating that she had seen the truth, and took her true form, explaining that Shin had always been capable of love and that they had nurtured that feeling together. She apologized for making him wait. Nalia realized that she had borrowed the body of the love fairy, gaining life for a moment, but said her body could not endure the power, and nothing had changed. He threw his ruler sword to fight, and she called upon the spirits, who appeared and tried to distract Nalia. He burned them, but they returned to their true forms and attacked. She struck him with an arrow he deflected, strengthening his flames until Reno heard the voice of Miguelin, who appeared and extinguished the fire, explaining that she had borrowed Fran's body to return. She spread her leaves, granting combat wisdom to all, empowered Shin with energy, restored his barrier, and he attacked using the spirit's power. Shin broke through the storm of swords, struck Nalia's heart, split his source, and despite Nalia's claim that a ruler's source could not be destroyed, Shin continued cutting it apart and delivered the final blow. At the same time, Rei struggled against Avos after his sword lost its power. She destroyed one of his sources, but he refused to surrender, holding to his promise to save Misa. He used the technique Shin had taught him, separated Avos from Misa, and told her that she could not live with only half a source. Avos replied that Misa would die as well, but Rei said that Misha's dream of a world uniting hybrids and royals would prevent her death. Avos insulted him and completed her spell, but Rei cut through it and split her in two. The spell finished regardless, and Avos seized the sword of destruction, cutting Rei down when he attacked from behind. As she turned toward Misa, Anos saved her alongside Shin and Reno. Avos laughed, declaring it was too late and that she was the true queen. Anos challenged her, their demonic eyes colliding in massive explosions. She attacked with the sword. When his eyes did not stop it, he used his hands. Her spell spread through his body as he sank into the ground, but he seized her source, asked why she thought she could defeat him with the sword of destruction, reminded her that she was nothing more than a rumor born of a lie, and destroyed her source. She fell, claiming it was not over, because she was the ruler's daughter. A crystal flew and exploded. Nalia reappeared, announced the plan's completion after the ruler's daughter took the sword of destruction and stabbed herself with it, shaking the city. He recalled how Anos had turned the body of the ruler of destruction into Delad to contain her power, but now the system of destruction would return to its origin. Nalia summoned the ruler of destruction, and the son of destruction appeared in the sky, proclaiming himself heir of the rulers, whereupon Anos asked him why others must bear responsibility for tragedies that occurred 2,000 years ago. Anos explained that the rulers possess neither will nor soul, and that tragedies arise only from foolish living beings. Although the ruler of destruction is capable of destroying anything and thus defeating Anos regarded this as nothing more than a natural law imposed by the rulers, one he refused to accept, and revealed that the system itself had begun to fear him. Nalia scoffed, claiming that rulers do not know fear, but he suddenly froze and asked Anos what he had done to him. Anos replied calmly, "This is fear." Nalia fell into despair, warning Anos that killing him would cause the world to collapse. Anos asked, "If the rulers have no will or fear, then why do you fear your own destruction?" He challenged Nalia to smile. If he smiled, he would admit that he was the system, and if he could not, then he had a will, and the rulers were not the system. Nalia laughed despite himself, and Anos revealed that the laughter meant he desired to continue existing. Nalia realized he had been deceived and attempted to attack, but Anos seized his source. Anos proposed a pact, offering to fulfill whatever Iremi desired in exchange for obedience. Nalia agreed with laughter, but Anos shocked him by transferring all the power of Nesjalia to Iremi. Nalia protested that ruler power is absolute and cannot be granted to a demon, but Anos called him a fool for failing to notice that Iremi had developed a technique to steal ruler power over 2,000 years, and that Anos himself had analyzed the spell during his battle with Shin and completed it. Nalia declared such a thing impossible. Anos replied that the world would be fine now and proposed turning him into an insect forever. When Nalia proclaimed that a ruler's word is absolute, Anos severed his source and transformed him into an insect. Iremi returned, congratulated Anos on the speed of his spells and the seizure of a ruler's power, and admitted that he was now the strongest being as he crushed Nalia, causing the sun to vanish and everything to close in darkness. Misa awoke and finally met her mother, but Reino began to fade as she thanked Shin for her happy life. Shin wept and confessed his love while Misa collapsed, blaming herself for her mother's death. Anos reassured her that Reno had not vanished, and that he had chosen to save her first. Anos asked Rei to kill Misa with the ruler sword, as the legend dictated. Despite the lack of time, they trusted him, and Rei used his sword to destroy Misa's source. Anos explained that separating Misa from Avos was impossible, so she had to be transformed into another type of spirit by completing the legend. He revealed that this had been achieved thanks to Igith, who told humans that the demon king destroyed by Van Mina would reincarnate as the spirit Misa in her original form. Anos also placed his power within Reno's tear flower, allowing Avos to become a complete spirit through the new rumor, thereby preserving Reno's legend as the mother of spirits. Reno awoke alongside Misa, and joy filled them both. As the coronation approached, Misa grew anxious about appearing as the false demon king, so Anos urged Shin to reassure her. Shin went to her, called her brave, affirmed that he had watched over her strength and kindness, and Misa wept as she thanked her father. Anos then stood before the crowd, explained the end of the 2,000-year tragedies, introduced the great hero Kanan, the spirit king and spirit queen, and the great spirit born from the rumors of Avos. He declared equality for all born in Dalad, and the abandonment of the blade of hatred. All appeared before the crowd, and Anos vowed to stand against and destroy any tragedy that threatened the land. Peace was celebrated with the fan club songs, and all finally acknowledged him as the true Demon King, and thus ends Season 2. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment, and see you in another video. Goodbye.